Chapter 1. Finding the feedback system. Here is 200,000. Take it. I really can't accept this money, uncle. Just take it. This money is donated by everyone. It's a gesture of goodwill. Use it to make a comeback. There's not much we can do to help you. This is all we can offer. Then I really can't take this money. If you have the heart, just contribute more to our village once you get back on your feet. Qin Fuwa handed the money to Qin Mo and then left at this moment. Qin Mo looked at the 200,000 yuan that had been forcefully shoved into his hands. Completely at a loss for words, that he even felt a mix of emotions, both amused and helpless. Logically speaking, Qin Mo should be happy to receive 200,000 yuan for free. But accepting this money made him feel embarrassed and guilty. He even felt a bit uneasy. To explain, the reason why the villagers of Qin Family Village donated money to Qin Mo was mainly due to the following events. Qin Mo had been working outside, and when he returned last year, he couldn't buy a ticket and earned a bit of money. So he decided to rent a luxury car to come back for the new year. That IT was also a way to show off. After returning home, coincidentally, during this time last year, the village was repairing the roads. There was still a shortfall of 50,000 yuan for the road repairs. Qin Mo happened to have that money, so he decided to put on a brave face and donated it to the village. He even claimed that he was doing business outside and that things were going well. In short, he was boasting. The villagers believed him, and everyone thought Qin Mo had become successful. At that time, Qin Mo felt proud, even a bit smug. He gained face and did something good for the village. You can imagine how happy he was. However, that happiness didn't last long. When he went out to work again, Qin Mo found himself back to square one, still just a struggling worker. Not only that, but this year had been particularly tough for him. With the new year approaching, he lost his job. Considering this, Qin Mo had no choice but to return home early. He planned to go out and work hard again after the new year. Of course, he didn't rent a luxury car this year. Not only did he not rent a car, but he also forgot about the show-off from last year due to his current struggles. What he didn't expect was that he forgot, but the people of Qin Family Village had not forgotten. Seeing that Qin Mo returned without the luxury car and looking downcast, someone spread the word that Qin Mo had failed in business, even selling his car. Now he was in trouble. With no way out, he had fallen into despair. Such words quickly spread throughout Qin Family Village. If this were to happen in other villages, who knows what would happen? Perhaps he would be ridiculed or subjected to sarcastic remarks. Weren't you so impressive last year? How come you're not doing well this year? Isn't that just asking for mockery? Such things are not uncommon. After all, there are too many people these days who resent the poor and envy the rich. However, this kind of thing might happen in other villages, but Qin Family Village was different. Upon hearing the news of Qin Mo's downfall, the villagers gathered together. Led by the village secretary, who is also Qin Fuwa, the villagers quietly raised 200,000 yuan for Qin Mo. When they were donating, the villagers expressed their thoughts openly. Xiao Mo is a good kid. He donated 50,000 for the road repairs. We can't just stand by and watch. Let's help as much as we can. This kid deserves a chance to turn things around. We all share the surname Qin. He is our own child. How can we not help him? Thus, one by one, they generously contributed. They vowed to help Qin Mo make a comeback. And so, the 200,000 yuan was raised. By the time Qin Mo learned about this, it was already now. At this moment, the 200,000 yuan was already in Qin Mo's hands. Facing this 200,000 yuan, Qin Mo felt a mix of emotions. It was hard to comprehend how kind the villagers were. He donated 50,000, and the villagers returned the favor with 200,000. He rented a luxury car to show off, and this year he couldn't afford one, and the villagers thought he had fallen on hard times. They even worried that he wouldn't accept the money, and the village secretary had to force it into his hands. It left him speechless. What a lovely group of people. However, the more kind they were, the more uncomfortable Qin Mo felt. The 200,000 yuan in his hands felt heavier. Everyone likes money. But it depends on the source of the money. 200,000 is not a small amount. Anyone would want it. But Qin Mo knew how hard it was to earn money. The weight of this money felt even heavier. Qin Family Village had previously experienced accidents, and there were very few young and strong people. In other villages, there are more young people, and it might be easier for everyone to earn money. But in Qin Family Village, most of the villagers were elderly. It's clear how hard it was for this money to come by. This 200,000 even included the subsistence fund from the elderly. With this money in Qin Mo's hands, it was hard not to feel the weight of it. Because of this, Qin Mo was determined, I absolutely cannot accept this money. He planned to not use a single cent of it. Then he would find a way to return the money. Not only that, but he also vowed to contribute more to the village in the future. Just for the sake of the villagers' goodwill, he felt he had to help whenever the village needed it. Do more for the community and give back to the villagers. Otherwise, he would feel unworthy of their kindness. However, just as Qin Mo was having such thoughts, that a notification sound suddenly echoed in his mind. Ding! Feedback system binding successful. The sudden notification startled Chinamo. He didn't expect that, just as he had the intention to give back to the villagers, he would bind to a feedback system that in that moment. Chinamo was both surprised and excited beyond measure. After all, this was a system. Who wouldn't be thrilled to bind with one? Moreover, in an instant, Chinamo understood the function of the system. The system's purpose was aligned with his thoughts. No matter what Chinamo did, irrespective of the form or method, as long as it was genuinely good for the villagers who cared for him, he would receive reward from the system every time he gave back. Although the rewards were completely random, but there was nothing the system couldn't provide. What rewards he could receive depended on how he gave back to the villagers. Understanding all this at that moment, Chinamo couldn't help but take a deep breath in that second, his mind began to race with ideas. Chapter 2 Earning 2,000 with ease. Chinmo's thoughts started to come alive at that moment. He had originally planned to give back to his fellow villagers once he had made something of himself in the future. But now it seemed that waiting was not an option. Putting aside the system's rewards for now, the matter of giving back to his hometown was urgent. It is worth mentioning that Chinmo initially intended to repay the 200,000. However, that was no longer feasible. According to the system, it was only after accepting the 200,000 that he had the opportunity to bind with the system. Now, if he wanted to repay it, the system would not agree. At least, not for the time being. But this was not a big deal. Now that Chinmo had the system, the rewards were right in front of him. What did 200,000 matter? At worst, he could do more for Chin Family Village in the future. That could be seen as a win-win situation. With this thought in mind, Chinmo quickly put the 200,000 away in his house. After storing it, he stepped out the door. He needed to figure out how to give back to his elders in the context of the system. At the same time, he wanted to receive the system rewards as soon as possible. Chinmo was quite anxious about the system rewards. After all, who wouldn't want to receive their rewards as soon as they bound with the system? As soon as Chinmo stepped outside, he saw an old man passing by his door. Before Chinmo could say anything, the old man spoke up first. Xiaomo, there's no challenge in life that can't be overcome. Just don't get stuck. Keep going. I believe you can do it. The old man in front of him was Qin Huai, whom Chinmo had to address as third uncle due to their familial hierarchy. It was clear that a portion of the 200,000 donation was also his. In response to his words, Chinmo smiled and said, "Third uncle, don't worry. I will definitely work hard. You'll see." Clearly, Qin Huai misunderstood him. Chinmo had no choice but to go along with it. Upon hearing Chinmo's words, Qin Huai nodded happily. That's good, that's good. It was as if he saw Chinmo rejuvenated, and he was quite pleased. At that moment, Chinmo hurriedly mentioned, "By the way, third uncle, your light bulb is broken, right? Have you bought a new one? I can help you replace it." The light had gone out, and yesterday when Chinmo had just returned, Qin Huai had brought this up. Unfortunately, he hadn't had a replacement bulb on hand, so it hadn't been fixed in time. There were few young people in Qin Family Village, and those who were young were often away from home all year round. Many older villagers were unable to handle various issues. Sometimes, even minor problems could be delayed for a year, only to be addressed when young people returned home. In previous years, every time Chinmo returned home, he would help the elderly in Qin Village with a lot of tasks. This year was no exception. However, at this moment, he was feeling a bit more anxious thinking about the system. Hearing Chinmo's words, Qin Huai hurriedly said, "Oh, don't worry. It hasn't been on for more than 6 months, so a little more time doesn't matter." Chinmo quickly responded, "Has it really been 6 months? Let's go. I'll take a look." Saying this, he went to Qin Huai's home. Soon, after checking the circuit, Chinmo realized that it wasn't just the light bulb that had issues. There were also some problems with the wiring. One section was even broken, possibly gnawed by a mouse or something. This was the main reason why the bulb wasn't lighting up. Seeing this situation, Chinmo didn't waste any time. In less than half an hour, he replaced the light bulb and reconnected the wiring. After trying it out, the light bulb lit up immediately. Upon witnessing this, Qin Huai exclaimed, "Young people really are capable. When it was broken before, I was thinking of ways to fix it myself, but I couldn't find the problem at all. Thank you." Xiaomo hearing this, Chinmo couldn't help but smile and replied, "Third uncle, you're being too polite. It's just a light bulb. There's no need to thank me. I used to come to your house for meals all the time when I was a kid, and I never said thank you. So how can you be so formal?" When Qin Huai heard this, he smiled, and the wrinkles on his old face gathered together. "Oh, you child. You sure know how to talk." Just as Chinmo was about to respond, suddenly a system notification rang in his mind. Ding! The host has contributed to the villagers by helping Qin Huai maintain the light bulb and received a monetary reward of 2,000 yuan. This sudden notification left Chinmo momentarily stunned. He had intended to test what the system's reward criteria were, but he never expected that just changing a light bulb would count as a contribution. Moreover, the reward was surprisingly generous. earning 2,000 yuan so easily? Qin Mo opened his phone to check and saw a message. You have received a deposit of 2,000 yuan in your bank account ending in 2832. To be honest, seeing this deposit information made Qin Mo feel a bit exhilarated in that moment. He almost wished he could replace every light bulb in Qin Huai's house. Of course, this thought was fleeting. The most important thing was that Qin Mo understood the system's reward criteria. It seemed that as long as he did something for the local elders, no matter what it was, even just helping out, would fall under the category of contribution and earn him a reward from the system. Having figured this out, Qin Mo took a deep breath and then looked at Qin Huai, saying, "Third uncle, is there anything else at home that needs fixing? I can help you with that too." Qin Huai quickly waved his hand. No, there's nothing else. The lights are all good. All right." Listening to Qin Huai's words, Qin Mo felt a bit regretful. They only changed the light bulb. He thought he wouldn't even have another chance to get a reward. Just as this thought crossed his mind, he realized, no, that's not right. Just one light was broken. And the old man had been in the dark for over half a year. If there were other issues, how would they get through the year? Rewards are important. But one can't hope for problems in someone else's home just to get a reward. Thinking of this, Qin Mo couldn't help but chuckle. In an instant, he turned to Qin Huai and said, "All right, I'll take my leave now. If anything comes up at home, just call me." Okay, you go ahead." Just as Qin Huai finished speaking, he suddenly remembered something and hurriedly said to Qin Mo, "Oh right, Xiao Mo, if you have time in the next couple of days, could you check on your 7th grandma's house? It seems her roof has been leaking for a year. During the summer, it was pouring outside while it was drizzling in her house. The last time we covered it with plastic, it didn't help at all." Hearing this, Qin Mo's spirit was lifted. Really? That won't do. I'll go take a look right now. After saying that, Qin Mo headed straight for his 7th grandma's house. Chapter 3 Xiao Mo, I need you to do me a favor. The roof of 7th grandma's house had been leaking for a year. This made Qin Mo quite anxious. Wasn't this just waiting for him? Not just 7th grandma was waiting for him. The system's reward was also waiting for him. This made it impossible for Qin Mo to waste any time. In no time, he arrived at 7th grandma's house. He knocked on the door directly. "Who is it?" The old lady's voice came through. Qin Mo replied, "It's me, Xiao Mo." Upon recognizing him, 7th grandma exclaimed in surprise, "Xiao Mo, what brings you here?" After saying this, she looked at Qin Mo cautiously and said, "What are you here for? The money was donated to you. You can just keep it for yourself. Remember how good we were together. Don't think about paying it back." 7th grandma seemed to think Qin Mo had come to repay the money, her gaze fixed on him intensely. It looked like if she heard even a word from Qin Mo implying repayment, she would start to chase him away. This left Qin Mo both amused and helpless. He hadn't even clarified his purpose yet, and had already been put on the spot. If he hadn't bound the system, coming here to repay the money would have been quite a challenge. Hearing this, Qin Mo helplessly said, "7th grandma, I didn't come to repay the money. I accepted the donation you gave me." Upon hearing this, 7th grandma let out a sigh of relief and asked, "Then what are you here for? To thank me? You don't need to. Just go on with your business." She was about to push him away again. Qin Mo hurriedly said, No, I'm here to fix your roof." Hearing this, 7th grandma didn't refuse this time, and, feeling a bit embarrassed, said, "You're really going to fix my roof? That would be a real trouble for you, Xiao Mo. My house has been leaking for a year, and I really have no other way." Qin Mo smiled and replied, "That's why I came as soon as I heard about your leak." After finishing, he complained, "You should have told me as soon as you came back yesterday." Luckily, 3rd grandpa informed me. "Hey, you just got back," he replied. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, Qin Mo got straight to the point and quickly identified the location of the leak. He looked from the house up at the roof, clearly seeing several spots where light was shining through, indicating that it was already leaking. In this day and age, it's quite rare for houses to leak. In other villages, most families live in multi-story buildings. If there is a leakage issue, it's usually just seepage, not like this. However, Qin family village is poor, lacking young and middle-aged people. Most residents are elderly. There is hardly anyone building new houses. For these elderly folks, just being able to live out their days in a safe place is enough. The fact that no one is building means that the homes in Qin family village are mostly old-style houses with tiled roofs. If a tile breaks, leaks become a common occurrence, which is truly difficult. This also highlights how challenging it was for the villagers to raise 200,000 yuan for Qin Mo. It shows the villagers' heartfelt support. After all, if someone has 1,000 yuan, giving 1 yuan isn't much. But if they have 100 yuan and can give 50 or even 90, that speaks volumes. It's quite touching. At this moment, after inspecting the house, Qin Mo quickly found a ladder and went up to the roof. Once up there, he immediately spotted several tiles that had been broken by branches or similar debris, which caused the leak. Understanding the cause, he didn't waste any time. Since there are many tiled houses in Qin family village, there were plenty of tiles available. He brought over a dozen tiles, and went back up to the roof to replace all of them. Of course, doing this alone was not easy. Fortunately, third grandpa arrived just in time. "Let me help you pass things," he said. "Great," Chinemo replied, and he started to remove the old tiles while replacing them with the new ones. He also remembered to apply a layer of straw mud underneath the tiles as a base. After replacing a few tiles, it took less than 3 hours in total. Once finished, Chinemo tested it by pouring water on the roof, and not a single drop leaked inside. Seeing this, Grandma Chi was very pleased. Even third grandpa remarked, "Good, good, finally it won't leak anymore. Now we can rest easy when summer comes." However, Grandma Chi casually responded, "Hey, who knows if we'll even make it to that time?" Chinemo laughed at her words. "Look at you. You're so strong. Don't say such ominous things." Grandma Chi replied directly, "At an advanced age, it's about time to face the inevitable. Whether one lives or dies is just a matter of time. And there's nothing particularly auspicious or inauspicious about it." Hearing this made Chinemo shake his head with a bitter smile, unsure of what to say. Just then, a notification sound echoed in his mind once again, jolting him to attention. Ding! The host has rewarded the villagers by repairing the roof for Song Chunmei and received a system reward of 30,000 cash. Song Chunmei was, of course, the name of Granny Chi. He had gotten used to calling her Granny Chi. If it weren't for the system notification, he wouldn't even know her actual name. This is indeed the case. Young people rarely know the names of the elderly. One reason is that nobody cares, and the other is due to the use of honorifics. The second point goes without saying, but the first does evoke a sense of sadness and helplessness. Once people reach a certain age, many aspects of life become less relevant, and fewer people show concern, especially when there are no younger generations in the family. Putting that aside, after fixing a light bulb earlier, Chinemo had received a cash reward of 2,000. What he didn't expect was that repairing a roof would yield 30,000. This was simply unbelievable. In just half a day, Chinemo had received 32,000. At that moment, he had to admit that the system was quite generous. Moreover, it was clear that this monetary reward was definitely not the end or the peak. This meant that there were still unexpected rewards awaiting him. This motivated Chinemo to work even harder for his elderly neighbors. He was truly eager to take on more tasks. It's worth mentioning that neither Chin Huai nor Granny Chi seemed to notice Chinmo's excitement. Seeing that he hadn't spoken, Granny Chi couldn't help but address him. "Little Mo, I have one request." "What is it, Granny Chi?" "I don't know how many more years I have left. If I pass away, you must help carry the banner. I don't want to die without anyone to carry the banner for me." Upon hearing this, Chinemo fell silent for a moment, then smiled bitterly. "Let us not speak of such ominous things. This is what I should do. After all, I wouldn't want to call you Granny Chi for nothing." Hearing Chinmo's words, Granny Chi was very pleased. It's just that young people nowadays might find it unlucky to talk about death. Good, good. As long as you promise me, I'll be at ease. Chapter 4. The system explodes. Granny Chi had no descendants. The entire Chin family village shared the same surname, tracing back several generations to the same lineage. As it stood, Chinemo was the only one left. At her age, she had stopped worrying about anything other than her final arrangements. However, this was understandably heart-wrenching. Yet, despite the sorrow, the other elders in the village were unaware that they were in similar situations, though they did not directly ask Chinemo like Granny Chi did. After Chinemo agreed, it felt like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He was worried that if he didn't ask about it, or if it was seen as bad luck, he would end up without anyone to carry the banner at his funeral. Little did he know, carrying a banner was not something new for Chinemo. Earlier, when an elder in the village passed away, it was Chinemo who took care of everything. He was quite familiar with this kind of task. However, because of this familiarity, every time he encountered such situations, he found himself reluctant to participate. It wasn't about disdain. It was simply that the nature of such matters was hard to accept. Carrying the banner was not a mark of honor. After all, each banner represented an elder who had passed away. What was there to be happy about? Fortunately, at that moment, Uncle Sin spoke up. All right, Xiaomo has agreed. So you can rest easy now? Rest assured, Grandma Chi smiled and nodded repeatedly. In the blink of an eye, she didn't forget to tell Chinemo. "Xiaomo, come over to Grandma Chi's place for dinner tonight. I'll make dumplings for you. I remember you used to love the dumplings I made." Upon hearing this, Chinemo quickly waved his hands to decline. It wasn't that he disliked older people or thought they were unhygienic. Rather, he found the whole cooking process too troublesome. Many young people often complained about the elderly being unclean, losing their appetite for the meals they prepared. Chinemo, however, mainly found it too much of a hassle. He loved Grandma Chi's dumplings, but making them was no simple task. Even an elderly person making dumplings could be quite a chore. This was also why many older folks took days just to cook a single dish. Chinemo didn't want Grandma Chi, at her age, to go through such trouble. So he simply said, "Grandma Chi, I won't have your dumplings. I still need to check if anyone else needs help. I've finally come back after a year." and I want to help as much as I can to prevent things from dragging on. You worry too much about these things, Grandma Chi muttered. Then she continued, all right. See who else needs your help. Xiaomo, just do your best to lend a hand. You only come back once a year, and if you can't find anyone else, it'll just be a bunch of old folks. Don't look down on them when you help out. Whenever you want to eat my dumplings again, I'll make them for you. Hearing this, Qin Emo smiled and replied, Grandma Chi, what are you saying? This is what I should do. I have nothing to complain about. You didn't complain when you helped me. After saying this, he turned to Uncle San and asked, Uncle San, does anyone else have any issues? Let me know, and I'll handle them one by one. As soon as Qin Huai heard this, he immediately said, yes. There are quite a few. Let me think. The yard of Qin Huailin collapsed a bit during the rain, and there's a problem with Qin Huaiwan's gate. It seems like it might fall down. Qin Huai immediately listed a bunch of issues that came up. Each one seemed troublesome, and anyone else would have found it quite a headache. However, upon hearing this, Qin Emo felt not only no disdain, but even a bit of excitement. The lack of disdain was because he had been dealing with such matters year after year and was already accustomed to it. The excitement stemmed from the fact that not only would he be helping this year, but there were also systematic rewards to be gained. Just based on this point, the more he could assist, the better. The people Qin Huai mentioned were all elders, whom Qin Emo had to refer to as grandpas and grandmas. After listening to Qin Huailin, Qin Emo headed straight to these households. His first stop was at Qin Huaiwan's home, where an elderly man lived alone since his partner had passed away 2 years ago. He first repaired the door, and what thrilled Qin Emo was that he received a system reward for it, 5,000 yuan this time. He then hurried off to help someone build a chicken coop, which also came with a system reward of 25,000. At this point, Qin Emo had a clear understanding. The system's rewards were related to the help he provided to his fellow villagers, but within that relationship, the rewards were completely random. Who would believe that building a chicken coop could earn 25,000? Just before, fixing a light had only earned him 2,000. This made Qin Emo realize that sometimes the system was a matter of luck. If fortune smiled upon him, it would indeed be exhilarating. Even so, Qin Emo roughly calculated that in just one day's work, he had earned several tens of thousands from the system rewards alone. What a concept! If he continued this for a month, or even a year, it would be hard not to get rich. This motivated Qin Emo, who was already not averse to trouble, to be even more enthusiastic about giving back to his fellow villagers. It's worth mentioning that Qin Mo wasn't able to finish the work on Qin Huailin's yard. The major reason was that he simply didn't have enough time after a whole day's work. Although Qin Mo was diligent, he was only one person and couldn't be in multiple places at once. Nevertheless, early the next morning, Qin Mo rushed to Qin Huailin's home. He not only showed up, but also brought his own tools. He got right to work. Although Qin Mo wasn't a professional at building walls, he still managed to do it quite well. The environment of Kanjiakan meant there were many tasks he could handle, making him somewhat of a jack of all trades. This time, building the wall took up most of his day. When Qin Mo laid the last brick, the system notification chimed. Ding. Host has helped Qin Huailin rebuild the collapsed yard wall and received a system reward, a Rolex Submariner Green. Upon hearing this notification, Qin Mo was momentarily stunned, and it took him a moment to register the information. He took a closer look at the system reward. Qin Mo was incredibly excited. Wow, this was totally unexpected. His luck this time was just amazing. The system actually gave a huge reward. Chapter 5. What more could he ask for? He had already completed all the tasks. The Rolex Submariner, despite Qin Mo usually not wearing watches and having no experience with high-end timepieces, he was aware of the famous Submariner. After all, even if one hasn't eaten pork, they have at least seen a pig run. In fact, he not only knew this watch brand, but he also had an idea of its approximate value, at least a few $100,000. This meant that regardless of the specific model the system rewarded him with, it had to be worth that much. Just moments ago, rewards of 3 or 5,000 had made him extremely happy. 2 or 3 tens of thousands would have been considered a great gain. Now, he received a watch worth several $100,000. For Qin Mo, this was indeed a massive reward from the system. After finishing up, he declined the invitation from Qin Huailin to stay for dinner and hurried home. At the same time, he was ready to claim his reward. Some rewards from the system were credited directly, while others needed to be claimed manually. As soon as Qin Mo mentioned claiming it, a watch appeared in his hands the next moment. It's worth mentioning that the system was quite considerate. Not only did he receive the reward, but the watch also came with a receipt. The amount on the receipt was 330,000. This meant that the value he thought was a few $100,000 was actually much more. It had more than doubled. This sudden windfall left Qin Mo exhilarated for quite some time. Because of this, he became even more proactive, with such supportive fellow villagers and generous rewards from the system. What else was there to say? The affairs of Qin Village were his responsibility. If there were no issues in Qin Village, he would create some, ensuring that the entire village benefited from his success. So in the afternoon, he said, "Second aunt, put down the bucket, I'll fetch the water for you." Ding. Host gives back to the villagers, helps Zhu Yu fetch water, receives system reward of 8,008. Third uncle, you haven't fed the pigs yet? Let me help you. Ding. Host gives back to the villagers, helps Qin Wenhao feed the pigs, receives system reward of 20,000. Sheep herding? That sounds troublesome. The wheat in the field is ready for harvest. Uncle Jianjun, I'll help you harvest a bag. Ding. Host gives back to the villagers. Helps Qin Jianjun cut grass to feed the sheep, receives system reward of 5,000. Throughout that afternoon, Qin Mo was incredibly busy. In fact, he had been on the go all day, with his presence felt throughout the entire Qin village. Even though second aunt, third uncle, and Qin Jianjun repeatedly insisted they didn't need help, Qin Mo had already jumped into action. It's worth noting that cutting wheat and feeding sheep didn't damage the crops. Winter wheat can be harvested and used to feed sheep without affecting next year's yield. In fact, sometimes it's necessary to flatten the wheat to promote better growth the following year. In short, thanks to Qin Mo's efforts, it seems that almost everything in Qin family village has been managed by him alone. As a result, many of the elderly in the village finally had time to gather and chat. Jianjun, aren't you herding sheep today? Ah, little Mo went to cut grass for me. I don't need to do it. I see you haven't fed the pigs either. Don't mention it. He fed them for me. I didn't even get to help. Isn't that right? I was planning to chop some firewood this afternoon, but he snatched that away too. Little Mo is quite diligent. He takes care of our tasks all day long. Who says otherwise? The group of elderly sighed in agreement. Before long, one of them couldn't help but say, this won't do. We can't let this child wear himself out. Exactly. I think he feels indebted to us since we contributed money to him. That's not quite right. Even before we donated, he was already helping us a lot. That's not what I meant. I mean, little Mo is a kind-hearted child. He is not someone you find every day. What you're saying is true. We've watched him grow up. You all know what kind of person he is. At this moment, the group of elderly folks gathered together couldn't help but praise Qin Mo. Just then, Qin Mo, who had finished preparing the fodder, walked over. Looking at Qin Jianjun, he couldn't help but say, Uncle Jianjun, I've placed the grass by the sheep pen in the bag. When you feed them, you can just take it directly from there. Hearing Qin Mo's words, Qin Jianjun quickly replied, all right, I got it. Qin Mo smiled in acknowledgement. In a flash, he looked at the group of elderly and asked again, is there anyone else with tasks at home? Fifth uncle, have you filled your water? As soon as Qin Liangping heard Qin Mo's question, he waved his hand repeatedly, saying, no, our water buckets are all full. Little Mo, you should take a break and not worry about these things. You've been busy all day. It's no wonder Qin Mo is so concerned. The system rewards are waiting for him. If you fetch a bucket of water, you can earn a few thousand yuan. There's even a chance to get better rewards. So how could he not be proactive? Of course, there's another reason as well. The water situation in Qin family village is indeed inconvenient. Nowadays, most villages have tap water. At the very least, many households use water towers. They pump water with electric motors and store it in water towers, making it no different from tap water. But Qin family village is different. There are no buildings, let alone water towers. So, they have to rely on well water and carry it themselves. Given that the village is filled with elderly folks, a bucket of water is quite heavy for them. This is a challenging task, which is why Qin Mo is so eager to help. The purpose is to earn rewards and to ensure that the elderly can handle these matters. For Qin Mo, missing out on a reward is not a big deal. As long as there is enough water, he is fine. However, after Qin Liangping finished speaking, the group of elderly people in front of him hurriedly chimed in. Yes. Xiaomo, you don't need to overwork yourself. You've been busy for a whole day. You can't keep going like this, even if you're young. You can't handle it. We can't let you get worn out. Sit down for a bit, come on. Look at you. You're about to start sweating. What more work is there? You've done it all. Their words showed concern for Qin Mo, who had been busy for quite a while. Hearing this, Qin Mo couldn't help but smile. He replied, what is tiring? I'm not tired. I'm in good shape. As long as I can help. Just let me know. Chapter 6. It seems streetlights aren't too expensive? When Qin Mo said this, it undoubtedly earned him a series of praises from the elderly. What a good child. Isn't that right? Xiao Mo is the best. Outsiders can't compare. Faced with such compliments, Qin Mo felt a bit shy. After all, his eagerness was partly due to the influence of the system. However, to be fair, whenever he returned to his hometown, he had always been proactive, helping the village elders with various issues. Continuing to do so now didn't seem out of place. After chatting with the elderly for a while, Qin Mo also took stock of his gains. A pile of cash, along with a Rolex watch. These rewards made him take a deep breath. It hadn't been long since he started, and if things continued like this, he could really make a fortune. This thought made Qin Mo even more enthusiastic about his work. Even while chatting with the group of elderly, his hands itched to do something. However, there was simply nothing for him to do. Fortunately, there were many tasks that the elderly couldn't handle. While they were chatting, suddenly, Qin Wenjuan turned to Qin Mo and asked, Xiao Mo, are you going to town tomorrow? Going to town meant heading to the market. Rural life can be quite inconvenient, so any shopping had to be done in town. Upon hearing this, Qin Mo didn't answer directly. Instead, he asked Qin Wenjuan, Fourth uncle, do you need something? Just let me know directly. For Qin Mo, whether he went to town or not wasn't important at all. If the village elders truly needed something, he wouldn't hesitate to go, even if it meant going out of the province. In fact, he hoped that there would be more matters for the village elders, bringing him more opportunities. After all, he had understood the system quite well by now. Though the rewards were random, he was ready for whatever came his way. However, the more troublesome the matter is, the more it requires effort to give back to the elders in the village. The rewards from the system will be even better. At that moment, when these words were spoken, Qin Mo looked at Qin Wenjuan in front of him, and his eyes were filled with excitement. Seeing him say this, Qin Wenjuan cheerfully replied, if you don't have time tomorrow, it's fine not to go. Just help me with something when you do go. Fourth master, you speak. Before Qin Wenjuan could say what it was, the surrounding elderly couldn't help but chime in. An old man couldn't resist saying, hey, your fourth master just wants you to help him buy a flashlight when you go to the town. His flashlight is broken, and he can't see the road when he comes back home after playing cards with us at night. As soon as this was said, Qin Wenjuan immediately nodded with a smile. Upon hearing this, Qin Mo felt a bit disappointed. He thought it would be something more complicated. He didn't expect it to be just buying a flashlight. However, Qin Mo could understand. If it were indeed a troublesome matter, most likely these elderly wouldn't ask him for help. The reason is simple. The elderly are most afraid of being a burden. Unless it's absolutely necessary or just a minor issue, they would act this way. If there were really some troublesome matters, they probably wouldn't speak up at all. After hearing this, Qin Mo patted his chest and said, all right, fourth master, don't worry. I'll bring the flashlight back for you tomorrow morning. Afraid that Qin Wenjuan might think he was being too deliberate, Qin Mo added, I just happen to be going to buy some groceries too. As soon as he said this, Qin Wenjuan became very happy. Just as the smile on his face hadn't faded, he immediately started rummaging in his pocket. After some searching, he pulled out 200 yuan and handed it to Qin Mo. Take this 200 yuan. If it's not enough later, just let me know. It's just a flashlight. It shouldn't cost 200 yuan. He seemed worried that it would be too little or not enough. Seeing this scene, Qin Mo quickly waved his hand. Fourth master, keep the money. Let's forget about it. No, take it. You're young, and it's not easy to earn money. But it shouldn't cost 200. No way. You can pay me back the extra when you come back, and buy some food for yourself when you get to the town. Seeing Qin Wenjuan's firm tone, Qin Mo couldn't help but smile and said, all right, fourth master, I won't take the money for now. I'll buy it for you tomorrow. Just give me back whatever it costs when I return. I told you to buy some food. Fourth master, if you keep insisting, I'm going to get angry. Okay. Seeing that Qin Mo had said so, Qin Wenjuan finally sighed and put the money away. Qin Mo had spent a long time with the elderly. For him, interacting with them was the most challenging part. Even when you kindly want to do something for them, getting them to accept it requires quite a bit of persuasion. The next day, Qin Mo arrived in town early in the morning. He brought along the 200,000 cash that the villagers had donated to him and deposited it directly into the bank. After taking care of this matter, Qin Mo quickly set out to find a place that sold flashlights. He soon found a grocery store. However, the flashlights available there did not meet Qin Mo's expectations. The brightness was low, and compared to those he had seen online, both the battery capacity and other features were lacking. Moreover, some of them even required separate battery installations. Unable to contain his curiosity, Qin Mo asked the store owner, do you have any brighter ones? Like the LED ones with lenses that are sold online? The owner shook his head and replied, no, you'll have to buy those online. But if you want brighter ones, you should install street lights. Qin Mo felt a bit disappointed as there were no brighter flashlights available. However, the owner's words sparked an idea in his mind. Street lights would indeed be more convenient than flashlights. If Qin Family Village had street lights installed, there would be no need for flashlights at all. Furthermore, purchasing a flashlight would only benefit one person, while others would still struggle to see at night. But with street lights, the entire village would be illuminated. Qin Mo pondered over his money, and the more he thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. In an instant, he declared, I don't want the flashlight anymore. Do you know where I can buy streetlights? The grocery store owner was stunned by Qin Mo's question. He was taken aback. He had only mentioned it casually, not expecting Qin Mo to take it seriously. Reflexively, he replied, I don't know. You might have to go to the city. Thank you, boss. Qin Mo acknowledged, realizing he might have asked a redundant question. After saying this, he left the grocery store. Once Qin Mo was gone, the store owner finally reacted and couldn't help but exclaim, wow, these young people today? Unbelievable. Not satisfied with flashlights, and now wanting to buy street lights. The owner felt that his understanding of the younger generation was quite limited. After leaving the grocery store, Qin Mo did not head straight to the city. Instead, he pulled out his phone and searched online. From what he knew, You could even buy houses online, so purchasing a street light shouldn't be a problem. Sure enough, after a quick search, he found several options available for street lights. He inquired about one particular store and discovered that the price for a solar-powered street light, including the pole, averaged around 1,000 yuan. Qin Mo was interested in a product priced at 1,300. Coincidentally, the seller of this online store was located in a nearby city. The distance from Qin Mo to this city was just a little over an hour's drive. Upon learning this, and knowing that Qin Mo wanted to purchase more than one or two streetlights, the store owner immediately invited Qin Mo to the factory. He mentioned that if Qin Mo decided on the spot, they could deliver the products directly to his village right away. Without much hesitation, Qin Mo got in his car and headed straight to the streetlight production factory. After a little over an hour, he arrived at the location. The store owner greeted Qin Mo warmly. Mr. Qin, although our factory is small, the quality of our products is excellent. You can take a look at our production process. I assure you, it's no less than what those larger factories offer. To secure the deal with Qin Mo, the factory owner even showcased various products, including the brightness and height of the streetlights, which were indeed impressive. Qin Mo immediately inquired, if I place an order now, can we sign a contract? Will installation be included, and how long will it take to complete? In response, the person in charge confidently said, you're just over an hour away. Which model do you like? We have plenty in stock. There's a big truck parked outside. Once you decide, I can load it up for you right now, and you can follow me back to the village. Not only will I deliver it, but I'll also bring a team to help with the installation. It's 10 o'clock now, and I guarantee you'll see the streetlights lit up by tonight. Hearing such a confident guarantee, Qin Mo was astonished. Really? Tonight? That is impressive. He then said, all right, if that is the case, I can't pass this up. I'll take the one priced at 1,300. How many would you like, Mr. Qin? After calculating the size of Qinjia village and the spacing between houses, Qin Mo decided on a quantity. 55. 50 streetlights would completely illuminate the entire village, ensuring it was as bright as day without any dark corners. The rural roads weren't as wide as those in cities, and the roads in front of the houses were narrow, so the streetlights were planned in a single row, not double. According to the brightness level, 50 was sufficient. Qin Mo requested an additional 5 to eliminate any shadows. Great. No problem at all. The person in charge was overjoyed to hear Qin Mo's numbers. 50 streetlight poles constituted a significant order. Consequently, they hurriedly signed the contract. As soon as Qin Mo paid the deposit, the person in charge began directing the loading of the products. After waiting for another hour, Qin Mo had already gotten into the vehicle of the person in charge, heading straight for Qin Family Village. However, while waiting for the streetlights to be installed, he figured out why this person was so confident that the lights would be on by night. He had actually brought a small excavator along. Not only that, but he also brought cement blocks and workers. At this speed, Qin Mo thought that in no more than 10 minutes, a streetlight could be installed. Just dig a hole, bury the cement block, and set up the pole. This was incredibly fast. An hour and a half later, in Qin Family Village, a large truck arrived and came to a stop. The elderly villagers couldn't help but be curious. What was this for? What was being delivered? Who bought something? Who could use a big truck for a purchase? The village secretary, Qin Guofu, appeared in front of the truck, asking curiously, what are you doing? At that moment, Qin Mo stepped out from the back of the vehicle. Uncle Guofu, little Mo, what did you bring? Hearing this, Qin Mo smiled and said, fourth uncle asked me to buy a flashlight. Qin Guofu was instantly bewildered. You brought back a flashlight in this truck? At that moment, he felt his mind was overwhelmed. Goodness, what kind of flashlight could require such a large truck? Are you sure you didn't bring back the sun? Or is the truck filled with flashlights? Listening to Qin Guofu, Qin Mo was taken aback and almost laughed. He quickly explained, no, it's not a flashlight. I thought flashlights weren't bright enough. I bought streetlights. Huh. Upon hearing this, Qin Guofu was even more confused. You were supposed to buy a flashlight, but you bought streetlights instead? At this time, Wen Zhuan shouted from outside, Wen Zhuan. They're here. Hearing the call, Wen Zhuan hurried out from the courtyard. As soon as he stepped out, an old man rushed towards him, saying, little Mo has brought back the flashlight. Hearing this, Wen Zhuan replied, so what if he brought it back? It's just a flashlight. I'm not in a hurry. After he said this, the old man outside the courtyard started stomping his feet. Oh, you should go take a look. You asked him to buy a flashlight, and he brought back dozens of streetlights. Wen Zhuan was taken aback by this. The things in his hands dropped to the ground involuntarily. What? Streetlights? In that moment, Wen Zhuan was completely stunned. Goodness, swapping a flashlight for streetlights is quite something. Chapter 8, System Reward, 3 million. In the blink of an eye, Wen Zhuan rushed over anxiously, looking at the massive truck and the numerous streetlights being unloaded. The 70-year-old Wen Zhuan couldn't help but tremble. Around him, the group of elderly villagers exclaimed, Wen Zhuan, look, these are the streetlights that little Mo bought. It looks like he plans to fill our Qin family village with them. If this is installed, you won't have a place to use the flashlight. Hearing these words, Qin Wenjuan quickly found Qin Mo and anxiously said, Xiao Mo, this won't do. All of these are streetlights. I just asked you to help me buy a flashlight. Qin Mo responded with a smile, Fourth Master, streetlights are better. They provide clearer light than a flashlight, don't you think? Qin Wenjuan stamped his feet in frustration. I know streetlights are definitely better than a flashlight, but I can't afford so many streetlights. I have no money. I can't buy them. Even if you take apart my old bones, I still can't come up with that much money. Hearing this, Qin Mo was both amused and helpless. It seemed Qin Wenjuan thought he had bought the streetlights just for him, which explained his urgency. So Qin Mo quickly reassured him, Fourth Master, I bought these. You don't have to pay. You bought them? Qin Wenjuan was taken aback, but quickly replied, but how much did they cost? This won't do. He shook his head vigorously. In fact, at that moment, it wasn't just Qin Wenjuan who felt it wasn't feasible. Even the other elderly folks felt the same. They thought about how much money all those streetlights would cost when it could have been solved with just a flashlight. We can't install so many streetlights, Xiao Mo. Hurry up and send people back. Our Qin family village doesn't need streetlights. Yes, Xiao Mo. We can't install them. That's a lot of money. Listening to these voices, Qin Mo couldn't help but feel a bit of a headache. He had already anticipated this scene when he bought the streetlights. Just as he expected. This moment came to pass. However, the streetlights had already been purchased. How could they not be installed? Moreover, installing streetlights would not only benefit the villagers, but also earn system rewards. These streetlights cost nearly 100,000, and Qin Mo was eager to find out what rewards the system would give once they were installed. Thus, he pretended not to hear those comments. At that moment, the person in charge called out, and Qin Mo hurried over. Mr. Qin, where should we install the streetlights? Give us a location, and we'll get started. Hearing this, Qin Mo replied, let us start here. Then, follow this road through the village and extend it to the end. Alright. After confirming the location with Qin Mo, the person in charge led several workers to get started right away. A small excavator was unloaded from the truck, and within a few minutes, a pit was dug out with the sound of the machine. The workers prepared the concrete bases, placed them into the pit, and then backfilled with soil. The base for the streetlight was ready. Shortly after, the streetlight pole was erected, and then screws were added to install the battery. The whole process was completed efficiently. A streetlight has already been erected. Indeed, it aligns with what Qin Mo was thinking. It took just over 10 minutes to set up a streetlight, and the speed was quite impressive. After it was installed, the workers began to head to the next location to continue digging holes. Meanwhile, the streetlight was being adjusted. Mr. Qin, how long will this streetlight stay on at night? It stays on all night. Great. Accompanied by the person in charge setting the timer for the streetlight, they turned it on to test it. In an instant, even during the day, the bright light from the streetlight was quite noticeable despite the overhead sun. It was evident that at night, it would be very bright. Seeing this, the elderly folks of Qin family village exclaimed, wow, it's so bright even during the day. Just imagine how bright it will be at night. Indeed, it was bright, but did Qin family village really need streetlights? This seemed too extravagant. A group of elderly men and women couldn't help but sigh. Then, seeing Qin Mo who was busy working, someone suggested, Fugui, go talk to Xiao Mo. How much is this going to cost? We can't spend money on this. At that moment, Qin Fugui hesitated and called out to Qin Mo, Xiao Mo, come here. I need to talk to you. Hearing this, Qin Mo did not come over. Instead, he waved his hand. He definitely couldn't go over, and even if he didn't, he knew what Qin Fugui wanted to say. At this moment, Qin Mo was only thinking about quickly installing all the streetlights. He wanted to claim the system rewards before considering anything else. As a result, despite Qin Mo deliberately avoiding him, one streetlight after another was erected. By the time night fell, over 50 streetlights had been set up. Just as the person in charge had said, everything was completed in a day, and there would definitely be streetlight illumination at night. Indeed, by this time, with the presence of these streetlights, Qin family village was brightly lit. Although night had fallen, darkness did not touch it at all. I'm leaving. Mr. Qin, you head back. If it's inconvenient, just stay the night. Oh, it's fine, it's not far. I'll drive back in a bit. By the way, if you have any issues, Mr. Qin, just give me a call. For the next 3 years. If there is any problem, I'll come to help you resolve it. Alright, I'll contact you if there's an issue. Thank you. No problem. After some polite exchanges, they settled the final payment, and the person in charge drove away with the workers. At that moment, a system notification sound echoed in Qin Mo's mind. Ding. The host has contributed to the community by installing streetlights for the elders of Qin family village, illuminating the roads at night. Reward, 3 million in cash. Hearing the system notification, Qin Mo couldn't help but feel excited. 3 million. He had indeed calculated correctly. After spending tens of thousands on installing dozens of streetlights, he ended up with 3 million. The reward is simply geometric compared to the effort put in. This moment is so exciting that it makes one almost tremble. At this time, A group of elderly men and women were chatting under the streetlight while keeping a close watch on Chinemo. Seeing this, Chinemo smiled and walked over. Chapter 9. I told you this kid is capable. The group of elderly folks had unkind expressions, resembling a court in session. When they saw Chinemo approaching, one of the elderly sighed. This child. The village secretary, Qin Guofu, looked at Chinemo with a sigh and then asked, Little Mo, how much did these streetlights cost? Chinemo replied honestly, less than 100,000. However, after hearing this, Qin Huai couldn't help but say to Chinemo, Little Mo, the money everyone donated is for you to use. How can you spend it on us? Even Grandma Song Chunmei couldn't help but say, You child. The money was given to you. You can spend it however you want, but you should use it for yourself. What is the point of installing streetlights? Qin Wenjuan added. We know you have good intentions, but how you spend this money, isn't it wasteful? Our village doesn't need streetlights. At this moment, the group of elderly folks chimed in one after another. Village Secretary Qin Guofu continued earnestly, Little Mo, we know you don't want to use our money. But don't forget, we are your elders. We watched you grow up. How can we not care for you? Our village has no young people. You are the only one among us old folks. That money is meant for you, and yet you find ways to spend it on us. What is the point of doing this? According to Qin Guofu, it became clear that these elderly folks thought Chinemo didn't want the 20,000 in donations. They believed he was trying to return that money by installing streetlights. Consequently, while they felt distressed about the money, they also sighed in resignation. They had given Chinemo money, which he ended up spending on Qin Family Village. What these elderly folks didn't know was that Chinemo was doing this for the system rewards and genuinely for their convenience. To be honest, if it weren't for the system rewards, Chinemo would have to explain himself extensively. But now, it was much simpler. Hearing this, Chinemo smiled and said, Uncle Guofu, what you said is true. The money you donated to me, I accepted it. I never said I wouldn't take it. Didn't I just use it? Qin Guofu responded, You child, you accepted it, but you spent it on streetlights. What is the difference from not taking it? That money is for you. And you didn't even use it for business. Hearing this, Chinemo continued to smile and said, Oh, Uncle Guofu, you misunderstood. And Grandma, you all misunderstood. The 200,000, I've actually used it already. Not only did I use it, but I also made quite a bit of money from that 200,000. The money for installing the streetlights was all earned by me, not from the 200,000 you misunderstood. What? You made money? How much? A group of elderly people looked at Chinemo with suspicion. Chinemo didn't waste time and took out his phone on the spot. He directly opened the bank app, logged in, and showed his balance to the group of elderly people. Uncle Fugua, look, I still have over 3 million in my account. This is all earned from that 200,000 you gave me. Seeing Chinemo handing over his phone, the elderly people instinctively leaned in closer. When they saw the string of numbers on his phone, they were stunned. Suddenly, they gasped in surprise. Oh my gosh. Is that really over 3 million? Wait, Xiaomo, where did this money come from? 200,000 can earn over 3 million? My goodness, how is that possible? In that moment, the elderly people were completely bewildered. They had never seen such large numbers before. Chinemo actually earned this? Even Uncle Fugua was taken aback. People often say not to flaunt wealth, but for Chinemo, showing it to these elderly folks was no big deal. And sure enough, once the numbers were revealed, it completely stunned the group of elderly people. Of course, after being stunned, the first thing the elderly people were concerned about was Chinemo. They weren't worried about how he would spend the money he earned, but rather, Xiaomo, you didn't do anything illegal, right? You must be careful. Money should be earned slowly, not through messy means. As they spoke, the elderly people were anxious, fearing that Chinemo might have done something illegal. But that wouldn't he do. Seeing their concern, Chinemo quickly explained the prepared statement, repeatedly shaking his hands. No, absolutely not. Uncle Fugua, think about it. Have I even stepped out these past few days? I've been in Qin Family Village the whole time. Even if I wanted to do something illegal, it wouldn't be possible. Upon hearing this, the elderly people seemed to understand. Hey, Xiaomo only went out once today? Indeed. He had been in Qin Family Village for the past few days. If it's not illegal, then that is good. But wait, how did Xiaomo make the money? Just as the elderly people started to realize, they became confused again. They hadn't left home, so it didn't seem like he could be doing anything illegal. But how did he earn the money? Before they could ask, Chinemo continued, Uncle Fugua, do you know about futures trading? I've heard about it. It's quite similar to stocks. After a pause, Chinemo continued, have you been to the market these days? Did you notice the price of garlic going up? No. The price of garlic has increased? What does that have to do with how you make money? Chinemo pondered for a moment and shared the news he saw in a short video yesterday. Garlic has skyrocketed in price. I used that 200,000 to buy a lot of garlic in the futures market with leverage, and it rose in the past few days. So I sold all of it and made several million in one go. After saying this, Chinemo deliberately smiled. I was just lucky and made a windfall. When it comes to futures, the elderly might not fully understand. But when it comes to stocks, they have at least some knowledge. After all, haven't they seen pigs run if they haven't eaten pork? As soon as Chin Mo finished speaking, someone asked, "So all your money is from stocks, right? What did you invest in to earn that?" Chin Mo nodded. "Yes, I bought it all on my phone. Made over 3 million. Yes. Oh my goodness." In that moment, the elderly folks in Chin family village were beaming with joy. There is no problem with this money. Absolutely none. Stocks are issued by the state. There is no issue. My goodness, to make several million from 200,000 in just a few days. Xiao Mo is doing great. I told you this kid would succeed. Look, he has really made it big. Chapter 10. What to give back to the villagers today. After learning that there was absolutely no issue with Chin Mo's money, the elderly folks in Chin family village were practically glowing with happiness. They couldn't help but praise Chin Mo endlessly. He has succeeded. Xiao Mo has succeeded. Making several million in just a few days, my goodness. Even the world's richest can't compare. With so much money, even if you're young and go out to work, you wouldn't earn this in a lifetime. Who says otherwise? At this moment, the elderly folks looked at Chin Mo with eyes full of pride. Having a successful descendant is undoubtedly the happiest thing for the elderly. Seeing this group of elders so happy, Chin Mo decided to seize the moment. So, you see, I've made so much money. Installing streetlights only costs a few tens of thousands. What is that? I know you wouldn't want the money directly, but these streetlights are different. Our Chin family village will be bright at night from now on. And when Grandpa C wants to go out to play cards at night, he won't need a flashlight anymore. We'll be able to see clearly. It won't stop us from taking a stroll at night, right? Chin Mo's words were quite stirring. As soon as he said that, Chin Wenjuan couldn't help but chuckle. These streetlights are bright. They're way better than flashlights. It's just like daytime. As soon as Chin Wenjuan said this, several people rolled their eyes. Granny Chi directly said, "Look at you. So pleased. Do you not need a flashlight anymore?" After that, she turned to Chin Mo and scolded him. "You kid, tens of thousands is still money." Hearing this, Chin Mo responded with a cheerful smile. "The money spent in Chin family village, can it be considered wasteful? If we have it, we should spend it. Granny Chi, don't you think so?" His words instantly warmed the hearts of the elderly present, who couldn't help but sigh with appreciation. What a good child. He really has a good heart. Who would think of these things if it were someone else? Just to buy a flashlight. He even thought about installing streetlights for our village. It's a shame to spend this money. It's fine, it's fine. This is all little Mo's good intention. He hasn't been a waste all these years. Some sentimental elders quietly wiped away their tears at that moment. This scene even tugged at Chin Mo's heart. He quickly made a decision. He must do more for his fellow villagers. It's still the same sentiment, not just for the system's rewards. This is a two-way street. Even without the system, as long as Chin Mo has the means, he would do the same. The difference is that, at this moment, he began to contemplate what more he could do. Meanwhile, after the elders had their moment of reflection, Chin Huai stood up, hands behind his back, and began to wander off into the distance. Seeing this, Granny Sin asked, "Where are you going?" Chin Huai remained silent, and when she pressed further, he still didn't respond. Frustrated, Granny Sin exclaimed, "Look at that gloomy face of yours." At this, Chin Huai couldn't hold back anymore. He turned back and said, "Where am I going?" "Just taking a stroll." "What is wrong with that?" "It's so bright out. I'm just walking around." Hearing this, a few of the elderly exchanged glances and understood his intent. They immediately stood up and followed Chin Huai, hands behind their backs, strolling along. As they walked, they chatted casually. "Hey, what is that big rock doing there? We should move it tomorrow. The pit is dry. I didn't even notice during the day." "Exactly. The streetlights really help us see. Wow, I can see clearly from so far away in front of the fourth old man's house. These streetlights seem to be solar-powered? No electricity needed. Of course. Didn't you hear when they were installed? They turn on at night, and when the sun sets, the lights come on." For this group of elderly folks, the night in Chin family village was clearer than ever before. Although they had lived there for decades, they had never seen such a view. As the old men wandered off, the remaining elderly women stood under the streetlights, watching the scene unfold. Unable to help but chuckle and scold. Look at them showing off. They've lived here for decades. And they still don't know what's in the ditches and pits? Moving that big rock. It's been sitting there for over 20 years. Exactly. These old men. Really. After all these years, they're still the same. Though they spoke these words, at that moment, the elderly women didn't budge an inch. Unable to resist chatting among themselves. Moreover, there has been a lot more chatter than before. It's worth noting that in the past, at this hour, you wouldn't see a single soul outside Chin family village. The elderly folks there used to be quite somber. Once night fell, it felt like an empty village. But now, there isn't a single person at home. Even if it's just a stroll or a group chatting, it's an unprecedented lively scene. This sight brought great comfort to Chin Mo. In no time, he was drawn into the conversation. Soon, the topic turned to Chin Mo. Has he taken a liking to any girl? Now that he has money, shouldn't he build a house? Oh, let us buy one outside when the time comes. Why build? If we're all gone, what is the point of him living here? Right, right, buying a house is better. With Chin Mo's abilities, which girl in the nearby villages would be worthy? He should definitely find someone from the city. First, let us buy a car. Chin Mo's car from last year is gone. Yes, yes, let us get a good car. We have the ability to earn money. We can't let others look down on us. Faced with these casual chats, Chin Mo nodded along, which made the atmosphere lively once again. That night, the elderly folks dispersed only around 11 or 12. On that day, they all got up a bit later than usual. Not only that, but the first thing they did after getting up was to check the streetlights. However, by that time, the streetlights had already turned off. Oh, the sun is out. That is why they turn off automatically. They turn on again at night. The elderly nodded in satisfaction. It was at this moment that after Chin Mo finished brushing his teeth and washing his face, he began to ponder. What should he do today? What can he give back to the villagers? Oh, right. First, let us fetch some water. Water is a consumable. It needs to be fetched every day. Chin Mo considered this a regular task. But then he thought, wait, can I install running water? In Chapter 11, the system rewards are indeed impressive. This idea suddenly popped into Chin Mo's mind. The villagers of Chin Family Village have had a lot of inconvenience with water. When Chin Mo was around, he could help fetch water, but when he is not, for these elderly folks, fetching water becomes quite a challenge. They can only carry a little at a time, or slowly move a bucket of water into the house. If there were running water, it would be a tremendous benefit for the people of Chin Family Village. It would be convenient, and also safe. After all, in winter it freezes, and in summer it rains a lot. Neither is a good time for fetching water. The more Chin Mo thought about it, the better he felt about this idea. Installing running water for Chin Family Village would not only make life easier for the elderly villagers, but, more importantly, it would earn him rewards from the system. Providing running water would be a significant contribution to the entire village, wouldn't it? This system rewards, so it's bound to be a great benefit, right? Once this thought crossed his mind, Chin Mo felt a surge of excitement. However, there was no rush at the moment. For now, he still needed to fetch water as usual. Soon, Chin Mo went around every household in Chin Family Village. Grandma Chi, do you have any water left? I'll help you fetch some. Second uncle, where's the water bucket at home? Third uncle, your water tank is empty. After a busy round, the system's notification sounds echoed in Chin Mo's mind. Rewards of several thousand kept coming in. In this short period, he had earned at least tens of thousands, which was quite satisfying. Of course, despite the good earnings, it didn't stop Chin Mo from wanting to install running water in Chin Family Village. However, he kept thinking about one troublesome issue. Where would the water source come from? After all, installing running water was easy. It was just about connecting pipes to the houses. But without a water source, what good would it do? Even if the pipes were installed, they would be useless. Just then, Chin Jianjun approached him with a bottle of drink. Noticing Chin Mo deep in thought, he casually said, Xiao Mo, you must be thirsty. Here, take this drink. What are you thinking about? The drink looked like it had been around for quite a while, giving off an impression that it might be expired. But it wasn't that Chin Jianjun was being stingy or deliberate. It was just that in the countryside, older folks were reluctant to touch anything good to eat or drink unless it was for guests. As for the concept of expiration dates, they hardly had any awareness of it. They simply thought that something good should be saved for entertaining visitors. Chin Mo took the drink with a grin and replied casually, It's nothing. I just find fetching water every day quite troublesome. If only we had running water, it would be so much easier. Hearing this, Chin Jianjun slapped his thigh and exclaimed, Oh, wouldn't that be convenient? Then we wouldn't have to fetch water every day. It's a pity we live in the countryside and don't have running water. I've heard that some places have it installed, but we don't know when it will be our turn. He smacked his lips and continued, But whether we have running water or not doesn't really matter. Look at the other villages. They build their houses and set up water towers. Isn't that just like having running water? I originally wanted to set up a water tower for convenience. But at my age, who knows how many more years I have left? It feels like too much trouble. Chin Jianjun's words brightened Chin Mo's mind. He had just been pondering the water source issue for running water. If they could dig a well and set up a water tower, the water source problem could be solved. If each household had one installed, wouldn't that resolve the issue? They could even add a sensor to the pump motor, so that when the water level in the tower reached a certain point, the motor would automatically start to fill it. Wouldn't that be a perfect solution? This thought made Chin Mo even happier. He briefly thought about asking Chin Jianjun in front of him where he could find someone to drill a well. However, he decided against it. Chin Mo knew that if he asked, Chin Jianjun would definitely have more questions. If he found out that Chin Mo was planning to install running water in Kanjiakan, it would likely not be approved. Moreover, it wouldn't take long for all the elderly in Kanjiakan to hear about it, and they would probably come to Chin Mo to discuss it thoroughly. He could already imagine what they would say. Why waste money on this? We can fetch water ourselves. Providing help to the elderly was a delicate matter. Sometimes it was better to act first and report later. Speaking of which, Qin Imo wanted to find someone to drill a well. Just as he walked out of Qin Jianjun's house, he couldn't help but smile. There was a huge advertisement painted on the wall in front of him. It read, "Well drilling, water tower. Water pipe installation contact number" in blue letters on a white background. It was quite a coincidence. By the time Qin Imo turned his head, he had already pulled out his phone and entered the number on the dial screen. After dialing, he said, "Hello. Hello." The call connected. A few minutes later, Qin Imo hung up. He had contacted someone to drill the well, and they happened to be nearby and available to come to Kanjiakan shortly. About half an hour later, the well driller arrived. Upon learning about Qin Imo's plans, the driller couldn't help but give Qin Imo a thumbs up. "Mr. Qin, you are really kind. There aren't many people like you who think of the whole village. If you really go through with this, I'll definitely give you a discount." Hearing this, Qin Imo responded with a smile, "Thank you in advance." The driller was also well-meaning. In a moment, he said to Qin Imo, "But you really don't need to have one well for each household. A large water tower for a few families would also work." Qin Imo replied, "One for each household is mainly for convenience. Otherwise, where would the electricity for the pump come from? Plus, long pipes can freeze in winter. Having one for each household won't cost much extra." The elderly in Kanjiakan were frugal, often reluctant to turn on lights. While a shared water tower would be convenient, Qin Imo thoughtfully considered that they might later argue about the electricity costs for the pump. Although the villagers didn't care much about these things, it was better to save the trouble if possible. Furthermore, Qin Imo was thinking about drilling a few more wells. Wouldn't that mean he could earn more rewards from the system? Just for the sake of those rewards, Qin Imo had to put in the effort. Upon hearing this, the driller couldn't help but give Qin Imo another thumbs up. Boss Qin isn't short on money. Qin Imo smiled at this but thought to himself, the system rewards are really generous. Chapter 12, No Refunds. In a moment, he said, "I'll go back and get the materials. I'll be back in half an hour." Listening to this, Qin Imo nodded. "You need to bring more pipes. I'm not doing this for two masters. Once the well is dug, I want the water supply installed too." "No problem," the well driller assured, slapping his chest. "As long as the money is in place, everything will be fine." Half an hour later, the well driller arrived with his team and equipment, driving right up to Qin Imo's doorstep. Qin Imo planned to dig the first well for his own home. Firstly, he really needed it, and secondly, he wanted to test the quality before helping others. Qinjia village was quite small, and this time of year, people were particularly idle. The arrival of the well driller naturally attracted the attention of the neighbors. "What is Xiao Imo doing? Digging a well? Installing a water tower for running water? Oh, that sounds convenient. Water at the touch of a button, that's great. Isn't that so? I thought about installing it too, but at my age, I might not have many years left, so why bother? Xiao Imo is young. He should definitely do it." Some were concerned that since he didn't spend much time at home, it might not be worth it. Upon learning that Qin Imo was installing running water, the elderly praised him and even expressed envy. Running water is so convenient. Who wouldn't want it? However, the old folks didn't think too much about it. They were simply curious onlookers. Qin Imo didn't mention that he would install running water for them too, as he wanted to enjoy a bit of peace and quiet. The well driller worked quickly. Within half an hour, water began to flow. The groundwater resources in Qinjia village were quite abundant, so the well didn't need to be very deep. Once the water flow met the standard, they would lower the pipes, and that well would be finished. They set up the motor and positioned the pipes accordingly, and everything was ready. The skilled worker brought a lot of helpers, so the pipes were gradually laid out. After confirming that the water extraction was working fine, the worker told Qin Mo, "It's all set. Just run the water for a bit to clear it up. The water tower will be delivered in the afternoon, along with the frame. It's very convenient. Just set it up here. Once the pipes are connected, you'll have running water." Hearing this, Qin Imo responded affirmatively. The worker then asked, "Which household is next?" Qin Imo directly turned to Qin Fugua and said, "Uncle Fugua, let us start with your house." This statement momentarily stunned Qin Fugua. Not just him, but the elderly folks were also taken aback. Qin Fugua quickly reacted, "Wait, why are you digging a well for me? I didn't ask for it." Qin Imo smiled and replied, "I'm installing running water for you. Not just for your house. I plan to install running water for everyone in Qinjia village. This way, you won't have to fetch water anymore." Upon hearing Qin Mo's words, the elderly people were immediately in an uproar. They were astonished that Qin Imo actually planned to install running water for them. This was truly surprising. No, how much would that cost? You can just do it yourself. No need for this. I won't be around for much longer, isn't that a waste? Xiao Imo, you should save your money. You haven't even married yet. They all chimed in, voicing their objections. Even Qin Huai looked distressed, as if he couldn't bear to see Qin Imo spend his money. Qin Imo had anticipated this scene long before. He quickly spoke up, "Why not? Everyone is here. How can we not install it?" Installing running water doesn't cost that much. Have you all forgotten how much I earned a couple of days ago? As soon as Chin Imo said this, Grandma Song Chunmei exclaimed, "Whatever you earn is yours." With his words, the other elderly people echoed, "Exactly. Your money should be for you to spend. How can you use it on us?" They all felt a heartache for Chin Imo. They had just installed streetlights yesterday, and now he wanted to install running water. How much money would that require to spend so freely? However, while they felt sorry for Chin Imo, they were also gratified and happy. At their age, having someone think of them was touching. Just this thought almost brought tears to their eyes. This child is good. Xiao Imo has not been in vain. They appreciated his thoughtfulness, fearing that when he was not around, they would have trouble accessing water. This child is considerate, that's what matters. But we mustn't let him waste money. While the group of elderly people was moved, they were even more reluctant to let Chin Imo install the running water. Seeing this scene, Chin Imo felt helpless. This was the most frustrating part. He wanted to do something for his fellow villagers, but they were all unwilling. So, he quickly turned to the well drilling master. The master was quite clever. Seeing the situation, he directly spoke to Chin Imo, "Mr. Chin, we can skip the running water installation. But the payment won't be refunded." Upon hearing this, the elderly people exclaimed, "What? You've already paid? But we haven't even started drilling yet. How can that money be given? This won't do. If you're not going to drill, how can you keep the money?" Seeing the master's words, Chin Imo couldn't help but silently give a thumbs up. This master was indeed talented. With just one sentence, he had thrown the elderly people into a panic. Unaware that the drilling payment had not actually been made yet. Seeing Chin Imo's thumbs up, the master winked at him proudly. Then continued to look at the elderly people seriously. "Of course, the money definitely cannot be refunded. We have all come over, and the transportation is done. Everything that needs to be moved has been moved. If you say you won't fight anymore, then won't that be playing us for fools? Let's put ourselves in each other's shoes. How are we going to refund this money to you? Anyway, we are listening to you now. If you decide to fight, then we will continue. If you decide not to fight anymore, then we will pack up and leave." That would mean the money was earned for nothing. The words of the well drilling master were quite serious. Listening to this, a group of elderly folks were quite taken aback. Oh, that was a loud smack on the thigh. With no other options, they were left wondering how to handle this. How could this money be wasted like that? Just then, Chin Imo took the opportunity to speak up. "You all saw it. If we don't continue, we will be at a loss. We can't let others take advantage of this money for nothing. Besides, having running water is so convenient." After Chin Imo finished speaking, this group of elderly people responded, all right, let's go ahead and do it." They had nothing more to say. Seeing this situation, Chin Imo couldn't help but smile. Chapter 13. There's probably no better deal than this in the world. When dealing with the elderly, Chin Imo was quite adept. You have to persuade them. You have to deceive them. You have to tell white lies. Of course, this is based on the premise of providing something for them. In reality, whether it's persuasion, deception, or white lies, it's not out of malice. It's just that without doing so, the elderly generally won't easily accept your good intentions. For example, if you buy an elderly person a piece of clothing that costs 300 or 500, if you tell them the original price, they would likely refuse to accept it. But if you say it costs 30 or 50, they might be more willing to accept it. Of course, persuasion can involve white lies, but you can't go too far. If you say a 300 or 500 piece of clothing costs 3 or 5, that would be ridiculous. With the cooperation of Chin Imo and the well drilling master, the villagers of Chin Family Village reluctantly accepted the request to drill wells. As a result, these elderly folks had nothing more to say. The well drilling work progressed much faster as well. Within a day, several households had already completed their wells. Watching the clear water gushing out, despite feeling a bit sorry for Chin Imo spending money, the villagers were still very happy and excited. When the well was completed at someone's house and water started flowing out, the excitement on their faces was unmistakable. Especially when they thought about installing water tanks and pipes, knowing that they would have running water at the turn of a tap. How convenient would that be? No more hauling water from the well. Hee, who would have thought that at my age, I'd be using running water? For those who hadn't had their turn yet, they couldn't help but ask, when will it be my turn? In a day? They couldn't drill too many wells. It would probably take 2 days for me. I'll look for a suitable place to drill the well. Fortunately, no matter where we drill here, there's always water. Otherwise, that would be a real hassle. I can hardly wait. Some have already started to plan where to install the faucet, and others are considering the placement of the water tower. Seeing the villagers of Chin Family Village like this, Chin Imo is very pleased. It seems that the effort put into drilling the well was not in vain. Now, it has truly made life more convenient for the people of Chin Family Village. Of course, what Chin Imo is looking forward to even more is what kind of system rewards he will receive once all the pipes are installed and every household has their water tower set up. However, both the villagers and Chin Imo are a bit anxious to wait for the well to be completed. Although they are a little impatient, the workers drilling the well are quite efficient. The next day, while the well drilling continues, the water tower at Chin Mo's home has also been installed. With the water tower set up, along with the motor and pipes, everything is finally in place. Once the water tower is filled, Chin Mo turns on the faucet, and a rush of water flows out. At this point, regardless of anything else, Chin Mo has achieved the freedom of running water. This will make things much more convenient. Chin Mo reflects on this and realizes that over the past few years he has been working outside, spending very little time at home. After getting used to city life, he often finds rural life quite inconvenient, and running water is a prime example. Luckily, this issue has now been resolved. After getting things sorted on his end, it's now Chin Fugua's turn. Once the water tower is installed, Chin Fugua sighs, "What a waste. It's really too wasteful." Actually, a few families could share one water tower, which would save a lot on drilling and water tower costs. Chin Fugua is not complaining about Chin Mo. He is simply lamenting the expenses. Hearing this, Chin Mo chuckles, "Uncle Fugua, you're saying that if a few families share one, wouldn't the pipes have to be very long? It's essentially the same. You won't save much." Chin Fugua sighs again, "You young ones." His lament doesn't last long. Soon, when his water tower is filled and the running water flows out, his expression shifts from concern to excitement. It's flowing. It's flowing. Wow, the water flow is quite strong. Great, great, great. At that moment, Chin Fugua takes out his teacup and rare tea leaves, boiling a kettle of hot tea. The tea has just started to steep, and it's probably still too hot to drink. However, Chin Fugua can't help but slurp a sip, exclaiming, "Sweet. This water is really sweet. Perfect for making tea." He adds, "When I was younger, I worked all over and went to the city a lot, but none of the water there is as sweet as this. That tap water has a taste of disinfectant. It can't compare to this." For him, this is just ordinary groundwater, but in this moment, it becomes something extraordinary. Seeing Chin Fugua so happy, Chin Mo feels a sense of satisfaction. Chin Mo smiled and remained silent. Speaking of which, it was just when Chin Fugua had just started drinking from the pot of tea. At that moment, a system prompt echoed in Chin Mo's mind. Ding. Host feedback to the villagers. Installing running water for Chin Fugua earns a system reward of 500,000 in cash. This sudden system prompt left Chin Mo momentarily stunned. He had thought that the rewards would only come after the entire village was equipped with running water, since everyone was doing it together. To his surprise, the prompt came after just one installation. However, this was not important. The system prompt made Chin Mo extremely excited. A cash reward of 500,000. Chin Mo's first reaction was that this was simply a windfall. After all, Chin Fugua was just the first. There were still 10 to 20 more households to go. Of course, there were not only these households in Kanjayakan, there were others that needed to be addressed. Some houses were unoccupied, and some had no residents. But let's put those aside for now. Speaking of the rewards, it can't be said that every reward is the same. But with all these installations, how many rewards would that be? Even if each was calculated at 500,000, that would amount to several million. How much did it cost to drill a well? A pump costs only 500. The pipes for running water are just a few yuan per meter. Drilling a well, due to the abundant underground water in Kanjayakan, doesn't go deep, costing around 2,000. And a water tower with its iron frame costs just a few hundred. Calculating it all, installing running water for one household would only be a little over 3,000. Yet Chin Mo received 500,000. This was a huge profit, an incredible gain. And who knows what rewards might come next, if they were even better. In that moment, Chin Mo couldn't help but smile broadly. This was such a great deal. Not only did it benefit the villagers, but he also made a significant profit. There couldn't be a better business deal than this. Chapter 14. He couldn't sit still before even picking up the car. Of course, Chin Mo was raking in profits, but in the eyes of the villagers, it seemed like he was still spending a lot of money. This made them both happy and a bit sentimental. Regardless, in the following time, several more households had successfully installed running water. During this time, the voice in Chin Mo's mind kept ringing. Ding. Host feedback to the villagers. Installing running water for Chin Hawaii earns a reward of 700,000 in cash. Ding. Host feedback to the villagers. Installing running water for Zhu Yue earns a reward of 3 luxury custom outfits. Ding. Host feedback to the villagers. Installing running water for Chin Liangping. After a while, Chin Mo received a large number of rewards. And after 2 or 3 days, when all the running water installations were completed, as Chin Mo had expected, the rewards from the system brought him an overwhelming profit. Just the cash alone amounted to over 10 million. Besides the cash, the 3 sets of high-end custom suits are not worth mentioning. The system even rewarded him with gold, 3 kilograms, to be exact. When Chin Mo received this reward, he was utterly stunned. He could hardly believe that gold could be measured in kilograms now. Besides the gold, it's worth mentioning that Chin Mo also received a car voucher. Of course, this voucher was not something trivial like a $5 coupon for a luxury car, but a voucher worth 1 million. According to the system's explanation, Chin Mo could directly use this voucher to deduct from any luxury car purchase below 1 million. And for any amount exceeding that, he would have to cover the difference himself. Isn't that just like giving him a car for free? Chin Mo was thrilled. It's inconvenient to be without a car in the countryside, and he had been thinking about buying one for a long time. Now, with this voucher, it felt like he already had a car. In addition to the car, the system offered rewards for watches and luxury items, all of which were valuable. However, compared to other rewards, these were nothing significant. After the installation of the water supply system in Chin Family Village was completed, Chin Mo received another reward, a physical enhancement. After claiming this reward, Chin Mo felt better than ever. His overall vitality was like a threefold increase compared to before. Not only was he eating more and sleeping better, but even his metabolism had noticeably sped up. This reward made Chin Mo extremely happy, as nothing is more tangible than good health. In his view, this reward was much more precious than any monetary reward. With that, the water supply project in Chin Family Village was completely finished. After settling the bill with the well drilling master, every household in the village had basically set up a water tower. Chin Mo was delighted with his reward, and the villagers were equally pleased with their new water supply. For the past couple of days, the elders had been talking about nothing but the new water. Oh, having running water is just different. Cooking is so much easier now. This morning, I almost forgot about brushing my teeth because of the convenience of running water. Before, we had to carry water. Now, it saves us so much trouble. It's all thanks to this kid, Xiao Mo. He has such a good kid. Who can argue with that? Xiao Mo is great. The water from the well, once it goes through the pipes, is so sweet. Indeed. Where else could you find such a child? The elders in Chin Family Village were quite generous in their praise. Before Chin Mo passed by, they were already singing his praises, and as he walked by, they directed their compliments straight at him, leaving him both amused and speechless. Fortunately, seeing Chin Mo looking neat and well-dressed attracted their curiosity, and they began to ask, Xiao Mo, what are you planning to do? Listening to this, Chin Mo didn't hide anything and said, I plan to buy a car. Now that I have some money, it's inconvenient to go out in the village. So I intend to get a car. That's right, I still have a car purchase voucher that I haven't used. Keeping it doesn't hurt either. I plan to buy a car, and it will be much more convenient to go anywhere then. Upon hearing that Chin Mo wanted to buy a car, the villagers suddenly became lively, all talking at once. Buy a car? That's great. It should have been done a long time ago. You should have bought a car before installing the streetlights. How can a young person not have a car? Otherwise, it's inconvenient to go anywhere. Having a car will make it easier for Xiao Mo to find a girlfriend. We hope Xiao Mo gets married and has kids soon. While we're still around, we can help you out. Some elderly villagers patted their thighs, lamenting, what a pity. If Xiao Mo didn't spend money on those streetlights and running water, that money could have gone towards a car. He could buy a really nice one. Who says otherwise? This money should have been used by us. It's such a waste. They began to reminisce about the money Chin Mo spent on them, feeling regretful again. This scene left one at a loss for words. Little did they know that the money Chin Mo spent was not wasted, but rather a profitable investment. Not to mention, if there hadn't been running water installed, he would have had to pay for the car himself, right? Now, it's great that the system provided $1 million for him. Hearing this, Chin Mo couldn't help but smile wryly and said, Grandpa Wenhao, it's not like that. Have you forgotten how much I earn? Can I really be short on money for a car? Chin Wenhao replied, that's not how it works. Even with a good car, the money saved could buy a tire. That's saving money. If it were to be said like this, Chin Mo really didn't know what to say. Fortunately, these elderly villagers didn't take up much of his time and soon began urging him, hurry up, take your time to look and choose. Buy a good one. Yes, you must buy a better car. Xiao Mo, do you have enough money? Are you short on cash? If you are, we can chip in a bit. Chin Mo hurriedly waved his hands, saying, what money could I possibly be short of? Even though these elderly villagers knew Chin Mo had money, they still asked. In a moment, Chin Mo waved his hand, then I'll head to the city first. After saying that, he continued on his way. Seeing him walk away, Chin Wenhao quickly called out, Xiao Mo, wait a minute. I'll call Uncle Fuwa for you to ride his electric bike to the town. It's too far to walk. Chin Mo smiled and waved his hand. It's not far. I can just walk a bit. As he walked away, a group of elderly villagers began to murmur as they watched Chin Mo's figure. Buying a car Xiao Mo is not short on money. We may not be able to help, but Xiao Mo is going to buy a car. No way, does anyone have red paper? I need to prepare a red envelope for Xiao Mo, just for the celebration. I'll go buy some firecrackers, and when Xiao Mo drives the car back, I'll set them off. I'll go too. Where can we buy fireworks? Chin Mo hasn't even picked up the car yet. The villagers are getting restless. Chapter 15. Buying a car and clothes. The elderly in Chin Family Village are quite simple-minded. To them, buying a car is a big happy event. How can we not set off firecrackers and prepare red envelopes? The countryside is different from the city. In the city, a car might just be a means of transportation. But in the countryside, a car is much more than just that, especially for unmarried people. The elders in Chin family village plan to set off firecrackers once Chin Mo brings the car home. That is not all. Some villagers even hold a banquet after buying a car, and they can collect some contributions too. Of course, such an outrageous thing is definitely not something Chin Mo would do. He primarily thinks about the convenience that comes with having a car. He doesn't think too much about other aspects. However, for the villagers, Chin Mo buying a car means he will have an easier time finding a wife. If you have a car, people will look at you differently when you're looking for a partner. At this moment in Chin family village, aside from the elders preparing for the celebration since the car hasn't been picked up yet, last year Xiao Mo already had a car, which was quite impressive. Later, when Xiao Mo's business suffered losses, it was a good thing he managed to recover. This kid is honest, now that he can make money again. He is lucky to have earned back so much with 200,000. It's good that we thought to help Xiao Mo, otherwise, who knows when he would be able to buy a car. Hey, what you're saying is misleading. It's not about money, it's Xiao Mo's own ability. Even if we didn't help, with Xiao Mo's skills, he could have earned that much on his own. No misunderstanding here. I'm not saying Xiao Mo's earnings are due to our help. I just mean it's a coincidence that we thought of giving him some money. Otherwise, wouldn't it delay his opportunity to earn? Speaking of this, I have something to say. I still don't understand how the young people nowadays are so impressive. They can even make millions from selling garlic. And all it takes is some fiddling with their phones. But putting that aside, Xiao Mo is about to buy the car soon. Do you all know if there are any suitable girls in nearby villages? We should introduce someone to Xiao Mo. Oh right, that is the most important thing. I heard there is a matchmaker in Nanzhuang who is very skilled. The car hasn't even been bought yet, and they're already arranging a wife for him. Thankfully, Chin Mo doesn't know about this. If he did, it would really be a mix of laughter and tears. Although Chin family village is rural, it has the advantage of being close to the city. Chin Mo took the bus to the town, and in less than 2 hours, he arrived at Danyang City. Danyang City is not small. Although it can't compare to first-tier cities, it is a proper second-tier city with substantial size. In major cities, there is no shortage of options. Chin Mo had already pre-selected a car before deciding to make a purchase. He didn't plan on buying anything too extravagant. He intended to use the purchase vouchers provided by the system. His main goal was to spend as little extra as possible. It wasn't about being stingy. It was simply unnecessary. After much consideration, Chin Mo ultimately decided to go for an A8. This model was quite impressive in terms of brand presence and reasonably priced. For a car worth around $1 million, there was no better option than this. Upon arriving in Danyang City, Chin Mo headed straight to the dealership. The car buying process was straightforward, primarily revolving around price negotiations. The only minor hiccup was that the car sales staff persistently tried to convince Chin Mo to take out a loan. He firmly declined. Not only did he have the purchase vouchers, which meant he wouldn't need to spend a dime, but even without them, he saw no need to take out a loan for a car costing over 100,000. Taking out a loan would incur extra interest and complicate the process. Just waiting for loan approval would delay the delivery of the car by several days. Fortunately, the dealership sold cars for cash buyers as well. They wouldn't pass up the opportunity to make a sale, even if it meant earning a little less. It's worth mentioning that the dealership had cars in stock, and these were newly arrived. Manufacturers typically supply cars to dealerships to facilitate sales and clear inventory. Therefore, Chin Mo was able to pick up the car the same day. Moreover, modern dealerships offer a variety of services, including insurance, license plates, and registration, all of which were completed in under 2 hours. They even took care of the floor mats and window film. During this time, Chin Mo enjoyed a meal at the dealership. After just a bit over an hour in the morning, he had left home on a bus, and by the afternoon, he was already driving his own car towards Chin family village. Buying a car was that simple. Notably, Chin Mo didn't spend a cent more than necessary. With the system's 1 million purchase voucher, the entire transaction cost him exactly 1 million. Although the amount seemed insufficient, he managed to have everything included, such as a dashcam, maintenance packages, and high-quality window film. All these extras added up to the exact amount. His strategy was to leave no excess funds with the system while ensuring the dealership made a little profit. As a result, even though Chin Mo didn't take out a loan, the sales staff were still quite pleased. In no time, he arrived in town. The trip to Danyang City took him 2 hours, but driving back took him less than an hour and a half. The town may not be as luxurious as the city, but it was lively, with crowds shopping even in the afternoon. In such a small town, Chin Mo's car stood out among the hundreds of thousands of vehicles. With so many people around, he had to drive cautiously. After all, it was a new car, and he would feel distressed if it got scratched. Business in the town didn't follow strict rules. The clothing vendor had set up their clothes right on the roadside. Normally, Chin Mo would try to avoid this area while driving. However, seeing the rows of outdated clothes, an idea suddenly popped into his head. He remembered something. Since he could recall, the villagers of Chin family village seemed to have never changed their clothes. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that their clothes were mostly patched up. Most of the elderly were wearing clothes that had faded from washing. The elderly in Chin family village were not like those in other villages. Those villagers had descendants who would buy them new clothes and shoes. In contrast, it was rare in Chin family village. With no young people around, the elderly had little savings and hardly enough to buy new clothes for themselves, especially as they aged. The next new piece of clothing for many was likely to be a burial shroud. This thought made Chin Mo unable to resist stopping the car by the roadside and getting out. He approached the clothing vendor and asked, "How much are these clothes?" Chapter 16. Buying outright. Buying clothes for the villagers of Chin family village could be seen as giving back, right? At least Chin Mo thought so. Since it was considered giving back, he felt a bit excited. After all, these were rewards from the system, and who wouldn't like that? Besides the system rewards, it was also time for the villagers to get some new clothes. With the new year approaching, new clothes would mean a fresh start. It was a practical way to celebrate. To be honest, he didn't have to buy clothes from roadside stalls. The styles were not great either. He could directly visit a mall or similar places to find better quality and more stylish clothes. Surely, they would look nicer than the ones from the roadside stalls. Yet, Chin Mo still chose to buy from here, not just because it reminded him of the villagers' needs, nor was it due to being frugal. Mainly, the flashy new styles were not suitable for the elderly. Furthermore, if the clothes were too expensive, the villagers would notice. They weren't foolish and would complain about wasting money. Although the roadside stalls were cheap, it seemed more appropriate. The vendor, seeing that Chin Mo was young and driving a nice car, smiled brightly when he inquired about the clothes. After finishing his question, she quickly asked, "Which one are you interested in? What are the prices?" Chin Mo simply and directly asked about the prices, which left the vendor a bit stunned. Usually, customers would ask about the price after picking out something they liked. However, she quickly responded honestly, "This one is 150, that one is 80, and this one is 50. The lady introduced coats, pants, and knitwear, all warm clothing suitable for winter. Noticing that Chin Mo seemed wealthy, she didn't casually set a price, as her standards were evident. The clothes weren't expensive. Chin Mo nodded and casually asked, "Can you make it cheaper?" Upon hearing this, the lady couldn't help but respond, "Well, you need to pick something first. Once you've chosen, we can talk about a discount. How can you negotiate without selecting any clothes?" Her logic was quite simple. However, the next moment, Chin Mo clarified, "Sorry, I didn't explain well. What I meant is, I want all these clothes. Can you make it cheaper?" "What?" The lady was taken aback. "All of them." She was momentarily stunned, having seen people buy several pieces before, but never someone wanting everything. It was quite an eye-opener for her. Once she regained her composure, she hurriedly asked, "Young man, are you joking?" Chin Mo waved his hand. "I'm not joking. I want them all, but you have to deliver them to my home." He was indeed serious. While others might buy one or two garments for the elderly, Chin Mo's intention was clear. He wanted clothes for all the elders in his village. He had no idea what sizes they wore, so naturally, he wanted everything, including various sizes. Not only clothes, but he also planned to get shoes and socks. Seeing such a generous customer, nearby vendors couldn't resist calling out, "Young man, come check out my stall. Do you need shoes? I have plenty of clothes too, and I can give you a discount." Moments later, Chin Mo had bought out several stalls. At that moment, the vendors were all smiles. For them, it was a business they had been running for years without such a sale. It felt like a blessing. Of course, they still had to deliver the goods. But since the village wasn't far from town, they couldn't refuse. Delivering the items was trivial. With all the clothes sold in one go, who would care about the delivery? It's worth mentioning that although Chin Mo spent quite generously and bought from multiple stalls, the total cost for clothes and shoes was only around 30 to 50,000. In the city, that wouldn't even cover one piece of clothing. Yet, it filled 3 rickshaws to the brim, making it look like he had spent a fortune. Notably, he was unaware of the sizes needed for the villagers. Chin Mo has probably spent some unnecessary money. Some clothes might not fit well, and some shoes might not be comfortable. However, Chin Mo doesn't mind this. The total amount spent isn't that much, and if something doesn't fit, he can always donate it later. It's not really a waste. Moreover, there is another reason why Chin Mo isn't bothered. He is tied to a system that rewards him with cars, money, and a bunch of other things. But if you calculate carefully, Chin Mo hasn't spent too much on giving back to his fellow villagers. Buying clothes costs around 30 to 50,000, and installing streetlights doesn't take much either. Even the water supply costs combined don't add up to the 200,000 his villagers contributed to him. So he doesn't feel bad about buying some clothes. In fact, he feels it's not enough. If it weren't for the fear of being too extravagant, the villagers of Chin family village wouldn't be able to accept it. Chin Mo even thinks he could buy all the clothes at the market. Of course, some clothes are given to him as gifts, but let us set that aside for now. After buying the clothes, Chin Mo hurried back to Chin family village. As he drove to the entrance of the village, he saw a group of elderly people chatting at the roadside. When he got closer, Chin Mo slowed down and honked his horn. It wasn't he to make way for the elderly, but to catch their attention. He rolled down the window, hearing the honk. They wondered who it was. The elderly instinctively tried to clear the way, but upon seeing Chin Mo smiling broadly, they exclaimed, "Oh, it's Xiao Mo. He is back. He bought a car. This car is really big and nice. How did he get it back so quickly? Didn't he just go to buy it this morning? He is already driving it back. Quick, I need to go get some firecrackers. My red envelope isn't ready yet." In an instant, Chin family village became lively. Shortly after, the sound of firecrackers echoed through the village. Xiao Mo bought a car. Quick, gather the red envelopes. Chapter 17. How is making money this simple? The smoke from the firecrackers mixed with the excited faces of the villagers presented a lively scene for Chin Mo. The elderly had just prepared these items in the morning, and now they could be put to good use. Chin Mo watched as red envelopes filled with cash were handed to him one by one. He cheerfully said, "I'll take these. Aunt, this is too much. Uncle Janjun, I can't take your red envelope." Although Chin Mo said he felt embarrassed, his hands didn't hesitate to accept the envelopes at all. It's not that Chin Mo is short on this little bit of money. It's the villagers' goodwill. Chin Mo buying a car is a joyous occasion, and accepting the money makes them happy. If he were to refuse even a single cent, it would be overly polite and would diminish their closeness. And indeed, after Chin Mo accepted the money, the atmosphere remained warm and friendly. The elderly folks nearby were having a great time. Quick, put it away. Haha, what's there to be embarrassed about? How much does it cost to fill up a tank? Exactly. They smiled so warmly that it seemed their faces were about to wrinkle up. Just then, Chin Fugua, who had set off firecrackers over there, walked over and couldn't help but admire Chin Mo's A8. Wow, this car is impressive. Just looking at it, it's much bigger than an ordinary car. After making this remark, Chin Huai curiously asked, "Little Mo, how much did you buy this car for? It looks better than an ordinary vehicle." The surrounding villagers were also curious and looked at Chin Mo eagerly. Hearing this, Chin Mo didn't hide it and replied with a smile, "With everything sorted. It cost a full $1,000,000. Chin Mo had a purpose for saying this. It wasn't just to show off to the villagers. The reason he was straightforward was simple. He wanted to demonstrate his strength to them. He wanted them to see that he was wealthy, able to spend money, and didn't care about it. This way, when it came time to give back to the villagers, it would be much easier. Otherwise, they might worry that he was short on cash and try to save him money. Sure enough, as soon as Chin Mo said this, there was an immediate reaction. Wow! Chin Fugua exclaimed in shock. He knew the car wasn't cheap, but he didn't expect it to be so expensive. $1,000,000. For the villagers of Chin Family Village, what kind of concept was that? Not to mention the older folks, even a young person would find it impressive. Even if the car was in the city, the elderly couldn't help but be astonished. My goodness, $1,000,000. I told you this car wasn't cheap. It's really expensive. You can't find a car more expensive than this in the whole area, right? $1,000,000. Is this car made of gold? That is almost the price of a house. The villagers were initially shocked, but then they looked at Chin Mo with mixed feelings. Some seemed to want to say something, but hesitated. Before Chin Mo bought the car, these elderly folks had encouraged him to buy a more expensive one. But now that it was truly this expensive, Chin Huai couldn't help but tug at Chin Mo's sleeve. Little Mo, this is way too expensive. In our countryside, having a car worth around 100 to 200,000 is already impressive. Chin Liangping added, "Yeah, and you haven't even married yet. You should save that money for a wife." Chin Wenjuan couldn't hold back either. "When you want to buy the car, it's our fault for not telling you." It was indeed a pricey purchase. Seeing the worried expressions on the elderly faces, Chin Mo jokingly said, "When I went to buy the car this morning, didn't you all tell me to buy a better one? So I did." Upon hearing this, Chin Huai slapped his thigh in amusement. The expression on their faces was filled with frustration. They never expected that the good in Chin Mo's eyes could differ so much from their own understanding of good. It was a world apart. It was like telling someone to buy a pair of pants, and to buy a quality one. Well, you really are willing to spend. The pants they bought were practically lined with gold. The elderly folks nearby were muttering to themselves, "What are we going to do? They aren't even married yet. What are we going to do?" Their brows were furrowed, clearly worried about Chin Mo. They were afraid he hadn't saved enough money to marry a wife. However, this was exactly the effect Chin Mo wanted. Seeing the expressions on the faces of the elders, he smiled and spoke again. He casually said to the elderly folks, "Hey, it's actually nothing. I even think what I bought was cheap." Upon hearing this, Zhu Yuwei, the second mistress, couldn't hold back any longer. She criticized Chin Mo. "Cheap? How much money do you have, kid? You think $1,000,000 car is cheap?" This was exactly the response Chin Mo was looking for. He grinned and said, "Mistress, to be honest, I've made more money these past few days. Didn't I have 3 million before? Now it's doubled. You think with that much money, spending $1,000,000 on a car is anything? I have so much in my account that even if I do nothing every day, the bank gives me over 1,000 in interest." Chin Mo indeed had quite a bit of money. He just wanted to brag. His goal was to make it seem like he had so much money that he didn't know how to spend it. and to spend it on them so that these elders would feel at ease. Sure enough, when Chin Imo said this, the elderly folks were immediately shocked. How much? Just a couple of days ago, didn't you only have 3 million? Xiao Imo, you made money again. Is it really that easy to earn money? Earning 3 million isn't a small amount. Now it's doubled? The impact of this statement on the elderly was simply too great. It was hard to believe. But Chin Imo remained calm, and he had his answers ready. Uncle Fu Guo, what are you talking about? I earned 3 million before with just 200,000. With 3 million in hand, do you think I can earn less now? As soon as Chin Imo said this, the elderly folks were left speechless. Isn't that the truth? After Chin Imo finished speaking, Chin Fu Guo hurriedly asked, you didn't break any laws, did you? Chin Imo laughed. How could I dare? It's just like before. But this time it's from the stock market. After Chin Imo finished speaking, the group of elderly folks stared wide-eyed, murmuring, goodness. How much money is that? We're getting old, but today as young people are really something else. The bank gives over 1,000 a day. That must be a lot of money. My goodness, we never imagined money could be earned like this. Earning money with money, how can it be so simple? Is making money really that simple? Did all those hard days in the past go to waste? The villagers of Chin Family Village couldn't quite understand it. However, despite their confusion, they began to realize, under such a shock, that Chin Imo had become wealthy. Chin Imo had this ability to make money, which not everyone possesses. After recovering from their initial surprise, the villagers expressed both admiration and joy on their faces. Little Imo is capable. Great. We won't have to worry for the rest of our lives. This ability to earn money. No wonder the richer people get richer. It turns out that having money makes earning it much easier. The faces of the villagers were filled with satisfaction as they looked at Chin Imo with pride. Yet, alongside their pride, the villagers had some advice for him. Little Imo, it's good that you can make money, but please, don't brag about how much you earn to others. Yes, keep your wealth discreet. No matter how much you have, don't even mention it to us. We should spend our money ourselves, keep it well hidden, and save what we can. Right? Save it for your wife and children. The old folks advised Chin Imo. It's worth mentioning that when they talked about spending their own money, they didn't mean that they wanted to share in Chin Imo's wealth. Instead, they were advising him to keep his money for himself and not to spend it on others, not even on them. But for Chin Imo not spending? How could that be? Not spending on them. That was even less acceptable. They say to keep wealth hidden, but for Chin Imo, he was eager to show it off to the villagers. If he didn't display it, how could these old folks feel justified in enjoying it? This was just how things were in Chin Family Village. In other villages or cities, or even among unreliable friends and relatives, if you have money, they would be eager to take it all from you, hoping you would spend it on them. However, if the villagers were really like that, Chin Imo doubted the system would even approach him. Faced with these thoughts, Chin Imo smiled and said, don't worry, everyone, I know what I'm doing. Do you think I wouldn't know? By the way, I had good luck today, spent 1 million on a car, and on my way back, I checked the stock market. I made over 1 million. I've already earned back the money I spent on the car. As Chin Imo finished speaking, Chin Huai and the others were left dumbfounded. They clearly didn't know how to respond. What? You earned back the money for the car? Chin Fu Guo scratched his head, feeling like he had wasted half his life. He accidentally revealed a bit too much. Seeing the reaction of Chin Fu Guo and the others, Chin Imo couldn't help but want to laugh. In the future, he might make more careless mistakes. Unless one day, these elderly folks can comfortably accept what he gives back to them. By then, there would be no need for Chin Imo to show off anymore. However, at this moment, Chin Imo clearly understood that it was time to move on from this topic. He turned to Chin Fu Guo and the others, saying, let us not talk about that anymore. Uncle Fu Guo, didn't you say you wanted to take a ride in the new car I bought? Come on, get in. And you, third uncle, didn't you say you wanted me to take you for a spin? Have a seat in this luxury car and see how it feels. Second aunt, this car is really comfortable. You should give it a try. There is plenty of space inside. Before Chin Imo went to buy the car, the villagers from Chin Family Village were already quite pleased. They were all saying that once Chin Imo bought the car, they wanted to take a ride, feel it, and so on. Now that the car was actually bought, it seemed they could finally have their wish fulfilled. However, upon hearing Chin Imo's words, the group waved their hands in unison. No. Oh, I want to sit in it. I'm dirty. What is the point of that? I'm already quite old. My hands are so rough. What if I scratch the paint? Before the car was bought, they all spoke so highly of it. Now that it was here, they hesitated. Looking at them, Chin Imo understood that they were worried about dirtying or damaging the car, wasting the fuel. Even though they knew it was just a car and not so fragile, they still expressed their reluctance. They didn't want to trouble Chin Imo and genuinely felt the car was too precious to touch. Chin Imo saw through their thoughts and shook his head at their words. But he also knew there was no helping it. This was how the elderly were. Fortunately, understanding this, Chin Imo didn't push them when he saw they were unwilling. Instead, he noticed a few tricycles approaching from a distance on the road, heavily loaded with something. Seeing this scene, Chin Imo smiled. The clothes he had bought were being delivered. Observing this, he turned to Qin Fugua and the others, saying, "Oh, by the way, Uncle Fugua, I bought a few clothes for you all on my way back." Qin Fugua was taken aback by this, and then smiled broadly. Though he complained, "What did you buy those for? It's not like we don't have clothes to wear. Isn't that a waste of money?" But deep down, he was still happy. It's true that older people don't want to be a burden, but knowing someone cares for them makes them happy. After he said this, the other elderly folks around also laughed and chimed in, "Little Mo is great. He even thought to buy clothes for Uncle Fugua. Haha, Fugua has new clothes to wear. Not bad, not bad. This kid is thoughtful. It's quite something, isn't it? Uncle Fugua is younger than us, only in his 60s. Yet he dresses like someone in their 70s or 80s. A group of elderly folks chuckled at this. Hearing these words, Qin Mo casually remarked, "How can buying clothes be a waste of money? Besides, you heard it wrong. I said I bought clothes for you, not just for Uncle Fugua. I got some for you too." The elderly were mistaken, thinking Qin Mo was only buying clothes for Qin Fugua. But when Qin Mo said this, they were taken aback. "You bought for us too?" The old folks were stunned. Then, they exclaimed, "Oh, why buy that? Oh, what is the point of wearing new when you're dead? You young one, isn't that just wasting money?" Just a moment ago, they were praising him. But now that it concerned them, it turned into a waste of money. However, when Qin Fugua heard this, he said, "Great, great. I told you it wasn't right to only buy clothes for me. You're a thoughtful kid. By the way, where are the clothes you bought? Did you get some for my third aunt? Let her try them on." As soon as Qin Fugua finished speaking, a tricycle arrived. The vehicle was tightly bound with ropes, and it was filled with clothes, while another tricycle was piled high with shoeboxes. The sound of the horn drew attention. The older sister in the front tricycle looked at Qin Mo and said, "Boss, the clothes are here. Where should we unload them for you?" Seeing the tricycles full of clothes, Qin Fugua's eyes widened in disbelief. "These are the clothes you bought?" Qin Mo nodded and smiled yes. Qin Fugua was astonished. "Is this how you buy clothes?" Chapter 19. I'll burn everything I have left as a way to honor them. The elders of Qin village were completely stunned at the sight of the tricycles filled with clothes. They realized that Qin Mo had indeed bought clothes. But they couldn't help but think that it looked more like he was running a clothing factory. A whole tricycle full of clothes? Is that how clothes are bought? This clearly looked like a shipment. The elders were utterly confused at this point, their eyes wide open. They initially thought that one tricycle full of clothes was a lot. But suddenly they noticed there were two more tricycles following behind. They had only been captivated by the first tricycle, and now they realized one tricycle was nothing. Qin Huai's face was filled with shock as he pointed to the other tricycles and exclaimed, "Is there more on those two?" Seeing the situation, Qin Mo chuckled. They aren't from the same supplier. Upon hearing this, the elderly understood. So, these weren't from the same source. He had bought from two different vendors? Thankfully, one of the tricycles wasn't carrying clothes. Looking at the boxes one after another, the elderly folks couldn't quite see what was inside. Qin Mo responded, "Oh, that's not clothes. Not clothes." The elderly sighed in relief. As long as it's not clothes, that's good. After all, with 2 or 3 rickshaws already, who could handle more? But before they could fully relax, they heard Qin Mo chuckle and say, "What's in this rickshaw is shoes and socks and such." After he finished speaking, the older sister selling clothes on the rickshaw nodded with a smile. She was still quite happy about it. All the shoes at the stall had been bought up by Qin Mo. Not clothes, but shoes. What difference does that make? At that moment, the elderly folks were completely speechless. They couldn't utter a single word. 2 rickshaws of clothes and 1 rickshaw of shoes. They knew Qin Mo had good intentions, wanting to provide them with new clothes in their old age. However, they could never have imagined such a method of giving. At this time, they truly didn't know what to say. The rickshaws were quite expensive, costing over $1 million. Buying clothes for them like this just didn't sit right. Grandma couldn't hold back any longer, trembling as she murmured, "How much is this? How much could this cost? Indeed, with so many clothes, how much money would it take to buy them?" She didn't even dare to think about it. Her words made the other elderly folks react as well. However, once they did, they were immediately against it. If Qin Mo had bought 1 piece for each of them or something like that, they might have been able to accept it. But this method of buying was too much. Clearly, the elderly wouldn't accept it. They immediately insisted, "No, no. You can't buy clothes like this. We can't accept them, no matter what. No, no, how much money this costs. It's all filthy money. Take them away. We don't want these clothes. Yes, we don't want them, no matter what." The elderly folks were resolute and straightforward in their refusal. It was evident that Qin Mo's earlier persuasion had failed this time. They completely forgot how much money Qin Mo earned and had. To them, all those clothes were simply money. Money that Qin Mo could use to marry a wife. How could he spend it all on them? Each of them showed no intention of accepting the clothes. Seeing the elderly folks so vehemently opposed and agitated, Qin Mo was completely unbothered. For them, refusing to accept from others might have been a headache, but for Qin Mo, it was no big deal. He had plenty of ways to handle it. He hasn't spoken yet. Seeing the reactions of the elderly, the older sister selling clothes immediately stopped what she was doing and hurriedly looked at Chin Imo, saying, "Young man, we've brought the clothes back for you. Everything we agreed upon is here, delivered right to your doorstep. If you don't want them, we can't refund your money." Another seller of clothes and shoes also nodded vigorously. Yes, yes. Seeing this, Chin Imo gestured for them to calm down. They had already bought the items. How could he refuse? To be frank, he couldn't return the clothes anyway. Moreover, even if the older sister was willing to refund, they had gone through so much trouble to bring them all the way here. It wouldn't be right to return them after all that effort. Thus, Chin Imo helplessly said to Chin Huai and the others, "Grandpa, you all heard that, right? I've already paid for these clothes. If you don't want them, they won't refund the money." The elderly listened to Chin Mo's words, still holding onto hope and fantasies. "No way. Why can't we get a refund? We don't want them, no matter what. Who buys clothes like this? This is ridiculous." One elderly lady said, "This young lady is just a kid who doesn't understand. She buys things indiscriminately. Let's discuss this properly." You could see the reluctance on the faces of the elderly. Seeing this situation, Chin Imo continued speaking to the older sister selling clothes. "Sister, you can see there's really no way out." Upon hearing this, the older sister anxiously replied, "But we can't refund." Chin Imo quickly waved his hand. All right. I know you can't refund. How about this? Since they don't want them and I've bought them already, I can't just let you take them away, right? But these clothes are for the elderly, and I can't wear them myself." After a pause, Chin Imo continued, "How about you take them to the southern fields? My second grandpa is buried there, and when he was alive, he hardly wore any new clothes. You can unload them there, and I'll burn them later as a way to honor them. How about that? As long as there's no refund, it doesn't matter where you take them." Hearing this, the older sister's face lit up with joy. "Sure, wherever you say. You lead the way, and I'll take them there." "Okay." Chin Imo responded and started walking ahead, leading the sister toward the field. At that moment, Chin Huai and the others were suddenly anxious. Chapter 20. This is just a small matter. Burning good clothes? This is unacceptable. The elderly, who were already accustomed to being frugal, couldn't bear this. Immediately, the second grandmother spoke up. "Oh my, these are perfectly good clothes. How can you burn them? Your second grandpa has been gone for so many years. How can you burn them for him?" "Yes, Xiao Mo, this can't be burned. You can't burn clothes meant for the living for the dead. Please, don't do that. This all costs money. These were all bought with money. You can't use them like this. You can't do that. Isn't that just wasting things?" At that moment, Qin Guofu couldn't hold back any longer. He kept shouting, "You can't leave, you can't go, you can't burn it, you can't make a joke out of this." He rushed in front of the tricycle to stop it. His anxious expression showed he was afraid Chin Imo might really go through with it. The lady driving the tricycle stopped and looked at Chin Imo. Seeing this, Chin Imo helplessly said to Chin Huai and the others, "Look, I bought this for you, and you don't want it. They won't refund the money. It's already bought. We can't just waste it. Burning it for my second uncle and the others is also a good thing. If you think it's not suitable." He paused and grinned at the lady on the tricycle. "Then can I just give it to her? Let her take it back and sell it?" Upon hearing this, the lady immediately smiled. "Young man, you're really nice. Thank you. All right then, no burning, but giving it to someone else." A group of elderly people immediately felt even more distressed. Chin Huai couldn't help but say to the lady, "If I give it to you, will you refund the money?" "No way." The lady waved her hand directly. "What kind of joke is that? You can take it for free, but refund the money? That's impossible." Chin Huai sighed in frustration. Seeing there was no way out, one elderly man hurriedly spoke up. "Why are we still talking? Hurry up and find a place to unload it." "Yeah, the money is already spent. Just accept it." "Xiao Mo, you should find a place to unload it. It's still your good intention. You all don't want it. I want it." "Xiao Mo, is that all right? We can't just waste it." Finally, after a series of actions from Chin Imo, the group of elderly people finally relented. Faced with the choice of seeing the clothes being wasted or keeping them to wear themselves, they wisely chose the latter. At that moment, Chin Imo couldn't help but smile broadly. He had won this round decisively. It's worth mentioning that Chin Imo had anticipated this outcome long ago. Older people are like this. If you approach them gently, they won't budge. You have to be firm and leave them with no choice for them to accept it. Once they relented, the elderly people immediately got busy. They quickly found a place to unload the clothes and shoes, afraid that if they were slow, the lady selling clothes would take them away or they would be burned. They were in a hurry. In the end, after laying down a tarp, they unloaded all the clothes and shoes at the entrance of Chin Guofu's house. Of course, during this process, Chin Imo faced quite a bit of complaints. "You child. Xiao Mo, I have to say a word or two to you. The tricycle is one thing, but who buys clothes like this? You should have saved that money. When you have children in the future, how many clothes will you need?" Facing these complaints, Chin Imo just smiled and stayed silent. The elderly people have already accepted this. So what else is there to say? Of course, during the process, Chin Imo didn't forget to add a few comments. "Third uncle, you must have forgotten how much money I have, right? This is all a small matter. I don't even know what size clothes you wear. So it's easier to buy this way. How much could this possibly cost? You probably don't know that in the city, a piece of clothing can cost tens of thousands. Every time these words came out of Chin Mo's mouth, the group of elderly people couldn't help but sigh. Before long, clothes and shoes were piled up in front of them. After they were unloaded, the lady who sold the clothes had nothing more to do. I'm leaving. Before she left, she glanced back at the clothes and shoes, feeling a bit regretful. Just a bit more, and those clothes and shoes would have belonged to her again. The shoe seller, noticing the lady kept looking back, couldn't he help but chuckle and said, "All right, stop looking. Do you really think they would give them to you? Didn't you see that this was all set up for these elderly folks to take home? If it weren't for that, they wouldn't have wanted to." The shoe seller was quite perceptive. However, after saying this, he also sighed. Well, this is great. This time, they've made quite a bit of money. Usually, it wouldn't be easy to sell this many shoes in a month. After he said this, another clothing seller nodded in agreement. Isn't that right? Too bad we can't encounter such big clients every time. Oh, every time? In my lifetime, I've only come across such a young person once. His car must be worth over $1 million. So expensive? He must be a big boss. He definitely earned money outside, and then came back to give some benefits to the folks back home. Incredible. He's rich, and doesn't he forget his hometown folks? People like that are rare. That's right. It's not that I haven't seen rich people. But those wealthy individuals often don't even associate with their poor relatives. While the clothing and shoe sellers were discussing, Chin Fugua's home was bustling with activity. Chin Huai instructed, "Fugua, go call everyone over to try on the clothes." Smacking his lips, Chin Huai couldn't help but smile. Damn it. To be able to wear new clothes before dying, and it's all thanks to Xiao Mo. I really didn't expect this. When Chin Huai said this, Chin Mo smiled, and the other elderly folks around also began to laugh. But while laughing, they didn't forget to tease Chin Mo a bit. Well, let us just tease him. In a moment. Third uncle, how do I look in this outfit? I think it doesn't suit you, but it suits me just fine. Fugua, besides Xiao Mo, you're the youngest here. Try it on and see. Second sister-in-law, how do I look in this one? Oh, very pretty. It makes you look younger. Jianjun, get a pair of shoes for your sister-in-law. She wears size 38. Make sure they fit before taking them. These were all bought for us by Xiao Mo, so don't mess around. Chapter 21. Are you still holding a feast when picking up the car? The elderly folks from Chin family village came to distribute clothes. Though it was called distribution, in reality, it was more about trying them on. Everyone chose what suited them, and they were quite measured in their selections, not grabbing everything for themselves. Despite Chin Mo facing some complaints, at that moment, the villagers were genuinely happy. On this day, the villagers had all donned new clothes, leading to quite a few incidents as well. Hey, Fugua, you should really clean up the water by your door. My new shoes are all dirty. The ground in the countryside is just not clean, too much dust. I feel like my pants are dusty. I think while we have some time and it's not freezing, we should wash the cement road outside. It looks bad. Cement roads have this downside. If it were asphalt, we wouldn't have this issue. Complaints about the road's condition and cleanliness were rampant, each person worried about getting their new clothes dirty. All in all, despite being elderly, the villagers seemed to stand a little straighter today. Even Chin Jianjun didn't let the sheep out, not wanting to dirty his new clothes. Observing the scenes in Chin family village today, Chin Mo felt that the new clothes were worth every penny. The smiles on the villagers' faces filled him with satisfaction and comfort. It's worth mentioning that none of the clothes Chin Mo bought were unsuitable. With so many sizes available, every villager found something that fit, ensuring that not a single piece went to waste. When the villagers wore their new clothes, Chin Mo's mind was flooded with system notifications that didn't stop for a moment. Ding. Host rewards the villagers, purchasing new clothes for Chin Huai. Gaining system reward, 110,000 cash. Ding. Host rewards the villagers, purchasing new clothes for Chin Jianjun. Gaining system reward, 1 wild ginseng from 500 years ago. Ding. Host rewards the villagers, purchasing new clothes for Zhu Yui. The notifications kept coming, leaving Chin Mo a bit overwhelmed. Most rewards were cash, ranging from tens of thousands to over 100,000, which was nothing to scoff at. There were also other rewards, like clothes and electronic products, which were fairly ordinary. However, the sheer quantity made the total quite impressive. What surprised Chin Mo the most was the wild ginseng from 500 years ago. He didn't know its exact value, but just the age alone was enough to take his breath away. What a treasure! Ginseng itself is a precious item, especially if it's 500 years old and wild. Chin Mo was very pleased with this reward. Besides this joy, he unexpectedly received another reward that made him even happier. Ding! The host has received a system reward for giving back to the villagers. Physical attributes doubled. Physical attributes doubled. After receiving this reward, Chin Mo instantly felt as if he had endless energy within him. Not only his body, but even his spirit felt invigorated. At that moment, Chin Mo felt that his physical condition was unprecedentedly good. According to the system's explanation, Qin Mo's body was now superior to his former self in every aspect. Even the health of his heart had doubled compared to before. This reward almost made Qin Mo jump for joy, constantly praising the system. It was no wonder he was so excited. It was about himself. Now he was twice as strong as before. What was there to be unhappy about? This made Qin Mo realize that the clothes he bought for the villagers were indeed worth it. At that second, while the villagers were happy, Qin Mo was equally thrilled. The villagers of Qin Family Village, now dressed in new clothes, were quite satisfied. While they were happy, they couldn't help but notice the dirt in certain places, which bothered them a bit. However, compared to their satisfaction, Qin Mo was not at all content. Just as the villagers had just put on their new clothes, Qin Mo was already contemplating adding some new items for them or making other contributions. It was understandable why Qin Mo was anxious. The sooner he did something, the sooner the villagers could receive something. The sooner he acted, the sooner he could get the system's rewards. Who wouldn't he be anxious in such a situation? Moreover, Qin Mo even wished that the contributions he made to the villagers would be something time-consuming and labor-intensive, as this would yield better benefits. Although he couldn't guarantee it, at least the chances would be higher, right? However, today, Qin Mo's plans were dashed. It wasn't that he couldn't think of what to do. It was just that the villagers didn't give him any time to consider. Besides giving the villagers new clothes today, he also bought a new car. The villagers certainly hadn't forgotten this. For Qin Mo, it was just buying a car, but for the villagers, it was a major event. In no time, firecrackers were lit again at Qin Mo's doorstep. Not only that, but Qin Fugua, dressed in new clothes, also called out to Qin Mo, Xiao Mo. I've arranged everything over the phone. The master will come this afternoon. Let him prepare the list, and once it's done, we'll go out to buy groceries. It feels like we're getting ready for a banquet. To be honest, buying a car for a banquet? This is something Qin Mo has never considered. Besides, is there really a need for this? It's just a car. Although some places do have people buying cars for banquets, everyone knows it's for the monetary gifts. Buy a car, hold a banquet, and then collect money. The intention is to recoup some of the car's cost, or at least earn back some fuel money. But is this something Qin Mo can do? Clearly not. Moreover, he isn't short on money. However, Qin Mo's opinion doesn't matter. Qin Fugua and the other elders have already made the decision. They insist on holding a banquet. At this moment, Qin Mo feels a bit bewildered. Chapter 22. The master chef is confused. The chef has already been found. They even plan to buy groceries in the afternoon. Watching Qin Fugua's actions, Qin Mo is both amused and exasperated. Uncle Fugua, is this really necessary? What banquet are we even talking about? Qin Mo is bewildered. Besides, he feels embarrassed just thinking about it. Moreover, if a banquet is held, wouldn't it just be the villagers of Qin Family Village coming to eat? Shouldn't there be contributions for the banquet? If they're organizing it, aren't they the ones who have to pay? Qin Mo really can't understand. But in response to Qin Mo's words, Qin Fugua speaks confidently. Why isn't it necessary? Your car costs over $1 million. Look at the nearby villages. Who has a car as good as yours? We bought such an expensive car. Shouldn't we celebrate? Anyway, just leave it to me. I'll arrange everything for you. Fortunately, it's still third Uncle Qin Huai who talks to Qin Mo. Qin Huai cheerfully runs in front of Qin Mo, grinning as he says, "Little Mo, don't worry about it. Uncle Fugua is right. Actually, there's no need for a banquet after buying the car, since we don't have any relatives outside. Even if we do hold a banquet, it's just for the people of Qin Family Village." Qin Huai clearly sees things for what they are. But this makes Qin Mo even more suspicious. So why hold one? Qin Huai continues grinning. Why not hold one? Exactly because of that. It's even more necessary. What do Uncle Fugua and Uncle Jianjun want? They just want some excitement. Think about it. You're already an adult, right? Your parents are no longer around. And it's been years since there's been a happy occasion at home. How long has it been since there was a joyous event? Before Qin Mo could respond, Qin Huai continues, not just you, but how many years has it been since our Qin Family Village held a banquet? It's hard-earned to have such a happy event. How can we not celebrate, right? Listening to Qin Huai, Qin Mo is lost in thought, feeling a lot. Qin Huai is right. There aren't many young people in Qin Family Village. It's been years since anything festive happened. Qin Mo is the only one worth looking forward to. However, it is uncertain how long it will take for Qin Mo to get married and have children. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? The elderly residents of Qin Family Village, while chatting privately, are filled with anxiety. They worry they might not live to see Qin Mo's wedding. How many years have passed? Qin Family Village has never hosted a banquet, let alone anything festive or celebratory. If you go to other villages, you'll see they have celebrations every year. Every household puts up decorations, whether it's a wedding or the arrival of a baby. Some people might even complain about the expenses of these celebrations. After all, the contributions can be quite substantial. But in Qin Family Village, even if you want to contribute, there's no place to do so. Qin Family Village needs a celebratory event. Qin Mo has finally bought a car, he is accomplished and capable. Such a significant occasion. It's impossible for the elders of Qin Family Village not to be concerned about it. To put it simply, buying a car is just an excuse. The celebration is the real anticipation. For the elderly in Qin Family Village, even if they can't hold on until Qin Mo gets married, at least they can enjoy a banquet. At this moment, Qin Mo understands all this and doesn't know what to say. He initially thought if a banquet had to be held, it would be better to just buy a few tables of dishes from a restaurant. But now, that idea has been discarded by Qin Mo. A banquet held in the village, with drinks and food, is much more lively than simply buying dishes and inviting a chef. Plus, the food feels more trustworthy. As a result, after Qin Huai finishes speaking, for Qin Mo, it's decided. It must be held. Even a grand celebration. Isn't buying a car a reason to celebrate? He not only wants to hold it, but also wants to put up decorations in every household. At this moment, Qin Mo looks at Uncle Fugua and says, Uncle Fugua, let us follow your arrangements. Also, can you contact a Suona band to invite them? That will cost money. Qin Fugua hesitates a bit. He supports holding a banquet, but inviting a Suona band seems excessive. He feels it's unnecessary. Hearing the firecrackers during the banquet would already break the silence of Qin Family Village, which for him is a celebration. However, once Qin Fugua finishes speaking, Qin Mo waves his hand and says, it's fine, it's not near the new year yet. The Suona band should be easy to invite. Let us really make it lively. Uncle Fugua, I'm not short on money. You know how much I earn in a day, right? Listening to Qin Mo's words, Qin Fugua finally smiles and says, all right, but that is not all. Immediately after, Qin Mo adds, invite 2 bands. As soon as Qin Mo says this, everyone gasps. 2 bands. That really seems unnecessary. If 2 bands come, it'll be quite the spectacle. A few years ago, I saw 2 Suona bands competing elsewhere, and the excitement was incredible. Just hearing Qin Mo's words, the elderly residents in front of him are already filled with longing. Given this, for Qin Mo, there is even less reason to save money. This is exactly the lively atmosphere I wanted. Qin Mo, who initially thought it unnecessary to hold a banquet, has completely changed his mind. That's just the way it is. When Master Chef Qin Fugua brought and arrived in the afternoon, he asked, haha, it's indeed a festive occasion. This is my first time cooking in your village. How many guests are you planning to serve? The chef needed to know the budget first to prepare a shopping list for the ingredients. The people in Qin Family Village had little experience with such matters. After all, the last banquet in the village was over a decade ago. They had plenty of experience with funerals, but that was a different matter altogether. Moreover, funerals and celebrations cannot use the same setup. So Qin Huai asked, you're the chef and have more experience. How much do banquets usually cost per table? The chef replied, it can vary. There are tables that cost over 200, 300, or even 500. Quite unbelievable, right? Banquets in rural areas can be that affordable. In fact, you could even outsource the entire arrangement without any hassle. In the city, this would be impossible. After hearing the chef's words, Qin Huai looked at Qin Mo. Initially, Qin Mo was reluctant to hold a banquet, and it didn't concern him. But now that he was willing to host it, they had to follow his lead. Qin Mo raised his finger and declared, 3,000. 3,000 per table. We'll have it for 3 days. Today, tomorrow, and the day after will be the main events. Wow, 3,000 per table? The chef was stunned. You must be joking. What wealthy family spends this much? However, Qin Mo didn't think it was excessive at all. Since it was a celebration, he believed there was no need to hold back on expenses. It was rare for Qin Family Village to have such a joyous occasion, so it should not be done hastily. Besides, while others might host banquets for profit, Qin Mo simply wanted to make this celebration extraordinary. Moreover, who would be attending the banquet? Just the villagers of Qin Family Village. No outsiders would come. In this context, Qin Mo didn't care about the costs. His only thought was to create a lively event where the villagers could eat and drink happily. He didn't mind spending 3,000. He was more concerned about it being too extravagant. Otherwise, a table costing 30,000 wouldn't be out of the question. Anyway, there weren't that many people in the village. How many tables could they even set up? Thus, with Qin Mo's decisive declaration, it was set at 3,000 per table. 2 bands of Suona players were quickly arranged. A day later, in the afternoon, both bands arrived. In no time, 4 loudspeakers were set up in Qin Family Village. Soon, the cheerful music spread outwards from the village center. Even 2 miles away, the sounds could be heard clearly. At this moment, every household in Qin Family Village was adorned with joyful characters, creating an atmosphere of great festivity. However, in the midst of this excitement, the faces of the villagers were filled with happiness, to the point that some had a flushed complexion. Yet, along with the joy, there was also a sigh. Qin Fugua, watching the lively scene outside, couldn't help but complain to Qin Huai with a tearful face. If I had known, I wouldn't have let Xiao Mo go through with this. We just wanted to create a bit of a festive atmosphere for Qin Family Village. But who knew it would turn out this big? Uncle Huai, do you know how much money was spent on groceries? Excluding yesterday, just this morning alone, it cost over 20,000 yuan. Oh, I'm really feeling for Xiao Mo over this. At that moment, Qin Huai was filled with regret. He was the one who pushed for the banquet, being the most eager about it. Initially, Qin Mo was completely against the idea. Now, it had turned into a grand affair. Qin Fu was suddenly recalled the outrageous spending when Qin Mo bought a car and clothes. Buying a car costs over 1 million, and buying 2 pieces of clothing was like pulling a vehicle load. Organizing a banquet with 2 music bands was beyond what was promised, just to celebrate. Right then, Qin Fu couldn't help but feel a deep sense of regret. Such extravagant methods, who does this? Not just Qin Fu, even Qin Huai felt a pang of sympathy. Seeing the banquet in full swing, he too felt the pinch. However, Qin Huai said, Xiao Mo probably just wanted to make it more lively. And he is willing to spend money so we old folks can enjoy good food and drink. Let's not forget, he brought us clothes using a vehicle. Qin Huai's words hit the nail on the head. This was exactly how Qin Mo felt. Qin Fu clearly understood this point as well. He sighed and nodded in agreement. Then Qin Huai continued, all right, let's just be happy this time. Xiao Mo is happy, and that's what matters. He knows how to earn money now. Qin Fu couldn't help but say, that's not what I mean. It's not about having money or not. I just feel it's a pity. This isn't a wedding. If it were a wedding, such a banquet would be perfect for that occasion. It would truly bring joy. Speaking of this, Qin Huai perked up. Oh yes, his wedding is the real deal. This rascal, he's not getting any younger, and he doesn't seem in a hurry at all to find a partner. If he doesn't find someone soon, when will we get to see grandchildren? It's driving me crazy. Who can argue with that? It's giving me a headache. I need to go consult your second uncle. And also check with Jianjun and the others to see if there are any suitable girls for Xiao Mo. Alright then. Meanwhile, the banquet was still underway. Over there, they have actually started worrying about Qin Mo's marriage. If Qin Mo knew about this, he would definitely have a headache. The money spent on the Suona band was definitely worth it. In the afternoon, the 2 bands didn't show much, but by evening, both families started to put in effort. They couldn't help but start competing to see who was more skilled. At that moment, apart from Qin family village, even the neighboring villages felt the lively atmosphere. In the countryside, there may not be much, but there are plenty of elderly folks with nothing to do. Seeing such excitement, people from other villages couldn't resist coming to Qin family village just to witness the lively scene. Even if they only came to listen to the Suona band. It was still a rare event for Qin family village. Normally, no one came to visit. Qin Huai, at his age, had his pockets full of cigarettes. He gave one to everyone who came and could chat happily for half the day. Although there were no close relatives from surrounding villages, everyone who came was familiar. Chatting with acquaintances was much more enjoyable. As a result, the elderly folks in Qin family village were all smiles when they saw familiar faces. The laughter on their faces didn't stop all night. What a joyful occasion. Wow, 2 Suona bands. No wonder it's so lively. Wait, how come there are streetlights in your village? Who installed them for you? We don't have any in our place. Oh my, have you all changed into new clothes? These curious and surprised remarks made the people of Qin family village beam with joy. Oh, it's nothing. It's just that my grandson bought a car. Whether it's Zhu Yui or Qin Huai, anyone who calls Qin Mo grandson has no issue. Isn't he making a name for himself outside? They said our village doesn't have any young people, so why not make the most of this opportunity while he bought a car and have some fun? The streetlights were installed by this kid. Not only that, but he also bought each of us old folks a piece of clothing. What a kid. What? You ask about the feast? This kid charges 3,000 for a table. Can you believe it? Oh my, how can money be spent like this? Don't you think? And he thinks it's not enough. People don't usually have such lavish banquets for weddings, yet he says he doesn't care. By the way, are there any suitable young ladies in your village? Look at our little Mo, so filial and capable and good-looking. Everyone come tomorrow to the feast. Your granddaughter is in her 20s, right? Bring her along. A feast costing over 3,000. You've definitely never had one like it. My granddaughter is only 8. Do you think it's appropriate to bring her? The elderly folks in Qin family village were practically going crazy. No matter who came, whether it was tea or cigarettes. They were not stingy at all, even with things they usually wouldn't spare. They offered it to everyone they met. Some elderly ladies even had 2 hanging from their ears. At first glance, one might think this old lady has turned into an old man. Besides that, the elderly people in Qin family village are wildly boasting about their accomplishments. They brag about Qin Mo, saying he is capable. A car worth 1 million. They also boast about Qin Mo's filial piety, how wonderful he is. Along the way, they mention how much this banquet costs. This guy just can't stop talking. Of course, if someone asks how much Qin Mo earns, they would say, oh, how would I know? This kid is just so capable. We don't need to worry about that. They would say, you know, I went out to play cards one night. And this kid was worried I wouldn't find my way back, so he installed streetlights for me. Can you believe that? The other villagers listening to this would respond, wow, that is impressive. Isn't it impressive? They were all envious. In their village, There isn't anyone as remarkable as this young man. Instead, in the sparsely populated Qin family village, someone like him has emerged. It's worth mentioning that after boasting, the elderly would not forget to ask, but this child is still unmarried. How old is your granddaughter? Are there any suitable matches in your village? Is she married? Did she get divorced? The elderly in Qin family village really talk a lot. It's truly astonishing. Watching this scene, Qin Emo was quite puzzled. He wondered why this group of elderly people kept asking about the young women over there. What does that mean? Qin Emo couldn't figure it out. So he just took it as casual chatter. At this time, he was busy arranging accommodations for the Suona ensemble performing that evening. It seemed there were more people coming for this ensemble, and the atmosphere was lively. The two groups started playing directly across from each other, putting in considerable effort, almost shaking their shoulders off. The audience gasped in amazement. The reason for this scene was not only a bit of competition, but also because Qin Emo had privately promised them. He told both groups that whoever could outplay the other would receive 10,000 yuan. It had to be lively, of course. However, it was said that way. But how could one group really receive less than the other? When these Suona groups left the next day, Qin Emo planned to give each group an extra 10,000. Just to make them happy. It wouldn't be fair for them to work hard without any reward. In this situation, the two Suona groups played until midnight. When the elderly could no longer stay awake, the event finally came to a regrettable end. The next day, the festivities continued early in the morning, with gongs and drums echoing. The chef over there was busy with several apprentices, occasionally shouting commands. The master chef had to personally oversee the tasks normally done by the apprentices. As he put it didn't matter how tiring it was. This was the first time he was handling a banquet for over 3,000 people in his life. He had to showcase his culinary skills developed over 20 years. Before noon, as time was running short, Qin Fu was set up the table to collect gifts. The red ledger was right in front of him. He was the first to seize the opportunity, happily pulling out money to write his name on the first page. It read, Qin Fuwa, 5,000 yuan. 5,000 yuan. Qin Fuwa had emptied his savings. However, when he took out the money, he was overjoyed. This ledger was meant for collecting gifts. Qin Emo originally wanted to stop this, thinking it was unnecessary. He cared about the lively atmosphere and joy of Qin family village. Gift money didn't matter to him, especially since it was all contributed by the elders of the village. But this was rejected by Qin Huai and others. According to Qin Huai, look at this bright red ledger, how festive. Besides our Qin family village, who else has a few? Those are from the banquets, the gift money given by others, with names left on it. Our village is old and young, can't possibly come up with something like this. How can we not keep a ledger or collect gift money? Initially, Qin Emo thought it was just a matter of transferring money back and forth. Even if they collected gift money, he intended to return it to the elders of Qin family village, so there was no need for that process. But after what Qin Huai and the others said, Qin Emo understood their intention. Alright, let's collect it. Not only that, but he also smiled at Qin Huai and the others, saying, you all need to contribute more. I'll be counting money tonight. Haha, you rascal. Qin Huai energetically pulled out 2,000 yuan. Qin Fuwa was the village secretary and had a salary, while Qin Huai only received social assistance. 2,000 was a stretch for him. Watching this scene, Qin Emo didn't stop them, fully aware that the elders of Qin family village had little money, and they had even donated to him before. Now they were pulling out so much gift money. Their pockets were likely empty. Yet, Qin Emo didn't care, as if he were oblivious to the money. In fact, it wasn't that Qin Emo didn't care for these elders or loved money. Rather, in his eyes, once he bound the system, the elders of Qin family village had no need for money anymore. Everything belonged to Qin Emo otherwise. How could he have them spend all their money like that? Of course, the elders of Qin family village were unaware of Qin Mo's plans. However, even so, they still took out their money cheerfully. Qin Emo looked at the ledger, determined that it must be kept safe after the banquet. This item was very valuable. Interestingly, it was surprising that the banquet was prepared for the elders of Qin family village. Although Qin Emo had prepared plenty, he had never considered that others would come to the banquet. But unexpectedly, people from neighboring villages actually showed up, and not just a few. The elderly folks from the village are quite nice. After listening to their words last night, I felt quite motivated. I also heard about the 3,000 yuan for the banquet, and that it's related to the deceased from the village, and so on. As a result, here we are at the table. From Shaolu village, Lu Wenyu, 200. Why are you here? Haha, Qin Siming is my classmate. We are good friends. Even though he is no longer with us. You say I can't come to your village's joyous occasion? I'm from Dawang's Wang, Wang Jiaming, 500. You this person looked at Qin Emo. Your father is Qin Qinghao, right? Yes, that is fine. Seeing this situation, Qin Fugua, who was collecting the money, felt genuinely happy, looking at so many people coming to give their gifts, but also a bit worried. Chapter 25, they don't even need to buy things for the new year. Qin Fugua was delighted that more people came, making the village even more festive. What worried him was whether the preparations were sufficient with so many visitors. If others came and there wasn't enough food, that would be awkward. Qin Fuwa didn't have time to worry about whether he would lose money over the gifts of 1 or 200. People were already here. Could he really send them away? He didn't have the face to do that. Fortunately, Qin Fuwa's worries were unnecessary. While buying vegetables and preparing ingredients, Qin Emo had brought back a large amount of items. His original intention was to take the opportunity to gift the leftover items from the banquet to the elderly villagers. So he bought more than enough. Now it was indeed useful. As time passed, the village became increasingly lively. Before long, it was time for the banquet to start. With the sound of firecrackers ringing out at Qin Mo's doorstep, the chef called out, "The banquet is starting." Qin Fuwa, who had just put away the account book, happily put on an apron and began serving dishes. Qin Mo was also ready early. In other villages, serving dishes is typically done by the younger generation. People of Qin Fuwa's age wouldn't be expected to do that in other places. However, it wasn't that there were no young people in Qin Family Village. It was just that Qin Fuwa and Qin Jianjun, who were capable, took on the task of serving. Others might have complaints about serving while everyone else was eating, but those were outsiders. It was a rare joyous occasion for the village, and Qin Jianjun and the others were thrilled to serve. Though not young anymore, they walked with vigor, their faces flushed with excitement. "Here we go. 2 dishes per table, don't mix them up." With the sound of shouting, dish after dish was brought to the table. The first dish served was cold appetizers, but unlike the usual cucumber salad, these were cold jellyfish and other seafood. While these delicacies might be cheap by the seaside, Qinjia village is not near the ocean, so such seafood is not affordable here. Many guests had never tried seafood before and were surprised by the dishes. They exclaimed, "Wow, this is seafood, right? No wonder the banquet costs 3,000. Normally, who would serve such fine food at a gathering?" Qinjia village truly has a promising young man. As compliments filled the air during the meal, both Qin Jianjun and Qin Fuwa couldn't help but smile. They were happy, though the cost of the banquet was a bit painful. The lively atmosphere of the banquet left everyone satisfied. It was a rare occasion for Qinjia village, filled with the praises of others. The chef was pleased to see the plates emptied, wearing a proud expression. The Swana band received an extra 10,000 from Qin Mo and were also quite happy. As everyone enjoyed the meal, they inevitably drank a bit too much. The two families exchanged pleasantries and had a great time chatting. Overall, everyone was extremely pleased with the banquet. Some elderly villagers from nearby even took the opportunity to grab a bit of leftover food on their way out. But they were discreet and only took what was left over, never touching the good dishes. In general, everyone was very satisfied, including Qin Mo. He could truly appreciate why Qin Fuwa insisted on hosting the banquet. As for the reason behind it, it seemed to be a celebration of acquiring a new car. But that didn't matter. It was just an excuse, and no one really cared. It's worth noting that Qin Mo spent quite a bit on this banquet. Although he didn't mind the expense, his approach still benefited the elders and fellow villagers of Qinjia village. Even those from other villages who came along enjoyed the benefits. Despite the success of the banquet, Qin Mo did not receive any rewards from the system, not even a hint. Perhaps to the system, no matter how much money Qin Mo spent, it was still just a banquet, and since everyone contributed, it couldn't be considered a return to the villagers. Even in terms of costs, it was clear that Qin Mo would end up at a loss. While there was a bit of regret, Qin Mo didn't mind. He would do it again in the same way. The joy and celebration in Qinjia village made it all worthwhile. Because of this festive atmosphere, many villagers ended up drinking too much, and a few elderly men even collapsed. Qin Huai was so drunk that when Qin Mo was taking him home to sleep, he was still shouting, "One more drink. Are you raising fish? Can you drink?" This left Qin Mo both amused and exasperated. As the banquet came to an end, although the guests had dispersed, Qin Mo still had unfinished business. He personally delivered the leftover items from the banquet to the homes of the villagers in Qin Family Village. Initially, the villagers were reluctant to accept them. However, Qin Mo had a solid reason this time. "I bought too much. It's too much to use up. If you don't take it, it'll spoil, right? There's no way I can eat all this by myself. I've put it in your house." Although Qin Mo's reasoning was quite convincing, the elderly villagers still found some points to question. "Little Mo sent me 2 buckets of oil. He also said he brought 2 bags of rice left over from the banquet. I wonder which family buys so much rice for a banquet. This boy even brought me 2 buckets of dishwashing liquid. And don't forget, he also brought me several pounds of pork. Goodness. Rice, flour, oil, and even dishwashing liquid. All in bulk. Are these things really meant for a banquet? Isn't it a bit excessive to have this much left over?" The villagers of Qin Family Village quickly understood Qin Mo's intentions. "Oh dear, this child took advantage of the banquet to buy groceries. How much did he really bring back for us? He is really spending money recklessly, and that bucket of oil isn't cheap." They sighed, feeling both pained for Qin Mo and appreciative of his thoughtfulness. Which young person can think of so much? We want to even need to buy things for the new year. They exclaimed. Exactly. As the villagers discussed among themselves, they felt that this child was truly worth their affection. In other villages, it would be hard to find anyone like Chin Imo. However, they lamented that although he was good in every way, he didn't treat money as money. With all these items, if he were to keep them for himself after getting married, he could eat for many years. Indeed, we can't let this child waste money anymore. Chin Imo, listening from a distance to the villagers' conversations, couldn't help but smile. He had actually thought of buying so many items while shopping. He understood that the villagers were usually frugal, often making a single meal last for two. Moreover, he felt that whether it was through donations or this banquet, the villagers would surely contribute financially. Once they spent their money, they would have even less left, making their lives more difficult. Relying on them to buy some food and drinks was simply unrealistic. Some of the elderly villagers might have even planned to eat noodles for the new year, just trying to get by. Thinking of this, Chin Imo naturally wanted to buy more things. However, he also understood that if he bought things for those elderly people individually, most of them would be unwilling to accept. Even if they did accept, they would likely complain about it. But if it was bought for a banquet, it would be different. Just one statement that he bought too much would resolve everything. Isn't that the case now? Although this group of elderly people has come to their senses at this moment, no one is coming to criticize Chin Imo. And even if they wanted to, it would be too late. How could Chin Imo not be happy about this? Moreover, what made him even happier was yet to come. Just after Chin Imo delivered the items to each household, he had just returned home when the system's notification sound came through. Ding! The host has given back to the villagers and purchased living supplies for Chin Fugwa, earning system rewards. One after another, system notifications rang out, representing rewards from the system. By now, Chin Imo had come to understand that cash rewards from the system were probably the most basic type of reward. But even the most basic rewards, after all those notifications, had brought him at least several 100,000 in cash rewards. Several 100,000. Even if Chin Imo's banquet cost 3,000 per table. According to the system's rewards, he had already made a significant profit. Cash rewards were not the end of it. What excited Chin Imo was ding. The host has given back to the villagers and received a system reward. A villa in Zilin Nanyuan, Donyang City. A villa in Donyang City, the same city where Chin Imo bought his car. Kanjayakan is also under Donyang City. As a second-tier city, Donyang City may not have housing prices that compare to various first-tier cities, but it is still an impressive place. In the past, Chin Imo's dream was to buy a house in Donyang City. In fact, there were people who had devoted all their resources to settle in Donyang. But dreams are dreams. Before binding the system, Chin Imo never had that capability. Now, with the system's rewards, he not only has a house in Donyang City, but even a villa. He had heard of Zilin Nanyuan. It is a luxury residence. At this moment, Chin Imo was simply unable to contain his excitement. He deeply understood that this was a result of being good to the villagers. The system would reward him in return. Such rewards truly filled him with exhilaration. Chin Imo initially thought that receiving a villa as a system reward would be the end of it, but to his surprise, there were more rewards. Ding! The host has given back to the villagers and received a system reward, mastery in Chinese cooking. Well then, one piece of information after another appeared in Chin Imo's mind, each accompanied by details about cooking skills. In just a moment, Chin Imo felt as if he had immersed himself in culinary arts for decades. He even seemed to smell the aroma of green onions on himself. Of course, the scent was illusory, but the skills were real. At that moment, Chin Imo even thought that if the master chef who used to cook hadn't left, he would dare to challenge that renowned chef from the surrounding villages. And the outcome would undoubtedly be the chef conceding defeat. It was easy to imagine what kind of concept the cooking skills rewarded to Chin Imo by the system represented. This also made Chin Imo feel delighted. Not to mention, if I had this skill before, I could buy a villa in Donyang City. This thought made Chin Imo even more eager to give back to his fellow villagers. So much so that in the evening, despite having plenty of leftovers, he chose to cook a meal himself to try out his skills. In the end, he concluded, it was delicious. When the next day came, Chin Imo once again strolled around Chinjia village. Xiao Imo, have you eaten yet? I have, second aunt. Xiao Imo, are you cold? Or something thicker? Fifth grandfather. I'm young. I'm not cold at all. The elderly villagers of Chinjia village seemed to be in a much better state of mind than before. Previously, some of them had a sallow complexion, but now they looked much healthier and more vibrant in their new clothes. As Chin Imo wandered around the village, he noticed something. The villagers seemed to be a bit wary of him. When he asked if anyone needed help, they all waved their hands, indicating that everything was fine. This left Chin Imo feeling a bit perplexed. Little did he know, they were actually thinking, don't let Xiao Imo get into trouble. This kid has spent quite a bit of money these past few days. He is young, let him enjoy himself. Don't always think about solving our problems. Buying things and clothes, that money is being wasted. Indeed, the villagers were being cautious around Chin Imo. They weren't planning to trouble him, but come on. These villagers treat me like their own child. How could I not give back? In the blink of an eye, Qin Imo spotted Qin Wenjuan struggling to wash clothes. This was a rare sight. After all, it goes without saying how hard it is for the elderly to wash clothes. Seeing this, Qin Imo hurriedly asked, "Fourth uncle, why are you washing clothes now? Aren't your hands cold?" Before Qin Wenjuan could respond, an old man nearby laughed and said, "Aren't they cold?" This old man never used to wash clothes. "Xiao Imo, isn't this the new outfit you bought? It got a little dusty yesterday, and he insisted on washing it clean. He washed it all, not considering whether he can handle it at his age. Can't he skip washing a couple of pieces?" Upon hearing this, Qin Mo's mind suddenly sparked with ideas. He was focused on finding ways to give back to the elders of Qin family village. After searching for a while, he still didn't have a clear goal. However, seeing Qin Wenjuan washing clothes was a clear indication that there were many areas in need of improvement for the villagers. Whether it was in terms of clothing, food, housing, or other aspects. Taking care of these issues was indeed a way of giving back. When it came to washing clothes, the saying was absolutely correct. Older people often find daily tasks more challenging than the younger generation. Even young people can feel exhausted from washing clothes. What about the elderly? Moreover, young people have washing machines to help them, while the villagers had to do everything by hand. In summer, it was manageable with lighter clothes, but in winter, the thicker garments and cold water made it even more difficult. Qin Wenjuan's hands were turning red from the cold water. After finishing his conversation with the elderly man, Qin Wenjuan chuckled and said, "I'm just trying to keep myself busy, washing clothes thoroughly so no one complains, and I consider it good exercise." The elderly man, despite his age, felt a bit shy and couldn't admit he was concerned about the new clothes Qin Imo bought getting dirty. Qin Wenjuan's words made the elderly man hesitant to expose the truth. He smiled and pointed, while Qin Imo couldn't help but grin at Qin Wenjuan's comment. Washing clothes for exercise? Is that really a form of exercise? Using cold water for training? People are shivering. What kind of exercise can that achieve? However, Qin Imo didn't say much more, just telling Qin Wenjuan, "Take your time washing. I have other things to attend to." "Okay, you go ahead," Qin Wenjuan replied. And Qin Imo nodded before walking away. But as soon as he left, Qin Imo began to contemplate buying washing machines, one for each household. With washing machines, would they still have to endure such hardship? Not only that, but having washing machines would make it easier for the elderly to keep their clothes clean. Moreover, it wasn't just about washing machines. In summer it was fine, but in winter, hands got cold. Not a single household in the village had a water heater. They had to boil water in large pots just to use a little hot water. In other villages, even if they didn't have a water heater, they would at least have solar water heaters. Hot water made life so much more convenient. But in Qin family village, if they wanted hot water, they still had to rely on the most primitive methods, boiling water and pouring it into a kettle. Who knows how well some kettles kept the water warm? It could cool down in no time. And there was more. When it got cold, wouldn't they also need to arrange for things like heating? Previously, Qin Imo had been thinking of various ways to give back to the villagers. He was still searching for ideas. But now, he realized there were plenty of things he could do to give back to the elders. This made Qin Imo smile involuntarily. There's no need to worry about this, right? Of course, having too many things to do isn't a good thing either. It has to be done one at a time. With that in mind, Qin Imo headed straight for home, planning to take out his A8 and then rush to town to buy a washing machine. In fact, that's exactly what he did. In no time, he drove out of the village. Before hitting the road, he had been asked several times, "Little Imo, where are you going?" "Just a little errand. I'll be back soon. Drive slowly on the road, don't rush." "Got it." As he left the village, a group of elderly folks watched Qin Mo's car disappear into the distance with smiles on their faces. They couldn't help but comment, "Little Mo's car is really nice. Who can compare with a car worth over $1 million? Exactly. Who in 10 miles or 8 villages can afford that? Only our little Mo has that ability." As they chatted, a few of the elderly folks casually remarked, "This kid is great, just willing to spend money on us. Isn't that right? Who knows what he has off to do? Probably busy with his own things. So we mustn't give him any trouble. Do I need to tell you that?" I'm well aware. The elders in Qinjia village had already developed a habit of not giving Qin Imo any trouble, fearing he would spend more money on them. However, what they didn't know was that Qin Imo was actually going to buy washing machines for them, one for each household. If those elderly folks found out, they would surely be dumbfounded. Of course, the reason Qin Imo didn't say anything was mainly due to this. As the saying goes, if you tell the elders in Qinjia village about your plans to help them, it would only add resistance. This is also why Qin Imo didn't stop Qin Wen from doing the laundry. Having a car makes a difference. Driving to town was quick. Normally, it would take Qin Imo a long time to walk there, but now, in just over 10 minutes, he had already arrived in town. He casually found an electronics store and began to inquire. As soon as the salesperson saw there was business and heard he was there to buy a washing machine, they were enthusiastic in their greeting. These days, washing machines come in all sorts of styles: single tub, twin tub, and front-loading, some even with heating features. Since he was going to buy one, Chin Mo quickly chose the best one. Seeing that Chin Mo picked out the expensive model, the salesperson cheerfully said, "You have a good eye? This washing machine is great. The front loader saves water. Not only does it save water, but it also heats up. So your clothes will be washed thoroughly. Plus, it has a drying function. You can throw your clothes in, and when they're done washing, they're ready to wear." The salesperson was just boasting. A front-loading washing machine with a drying function is not only expensive but also doesn't dry, as well as a dedicated dryer. Moreover, if too many clothes are put in, they might not come out completely dry and would still need to be hung out to dry. However, doing business is the same everywhere. Everyone tends to praise the products they want to sell. Therefore, when buying things, one must have the ability to discern. Although Chin Mo was aware of this, he was still quite satisfied with the washing machine. He casually asked, "How much is this washing machine?" "It's 700. But I can give you a discount." Just as he was speaking, more customers entered the appliance store, a young person and an older individual. The young man had a similar interest and was also eyeing the washing machine that Chin Mo was considering. "This one has a dryer? That's pretty good," the young man remarked. As soon as he finished speaking, the older person quickly waved his hand. No, that's too complicated. At my age, I can't figure it out. I won't remember it." The functions of the washing machine were too complex for the elderly, making it a bit challenging for them. Even with good intentions, they might struggle to use it. Hearing this, Chin Mo, who was initially ready to ask for a deal, paused. He suddenly thought about how the elderly in his village would also find it difficult to operate such a machine. He realized that he hadn't considered this aspect thoroughly enough. Chapter 28. The washing machine becomes a laundry room. The washing machine might be good, but if he bought it, what use would it be if the villagers couldn't operate it? Even if he purchased it, it would likely just become a decoration after a short time. After all, washing clothes should be a simple task. But if using a washing machine became a challenge for the elderly, they might as well stick to hand washing. Moreover, he couldn't expect them to learn how to use it in a short time. It's well known that older individuals don't have the same memory or mental agility as younger ones. What seems simple to the young might be extremely complicated for the elderly. Furthermore, in Xinjia village, not only could they not find a washing machine, but they also wouldn't be able to find a television in the entire village. High-tech gadgets were very unfamiliar to them. The salesperson, listening to the young man's comments, didn't try to persuade them, but instead said, "No problem, you can look at other options. There are simpler ones available." After saying this, he turned to Chin Mo. "Boss, what do you think of this one? Do you want it?" Chin Mo waved his hand and said apologetically, "No, I didn't think this through earlier. I just remembered that I'm buying it for the elderly to use. It's too complicated for them, and they want to be able to use it. Take a look at this. It's not that complicated," the young man said. "You can teach them when you have time." Feeling embarrassed, Chin Mo waved his hand again. "Why don't you look at other options?" At this moment, Chin Mo hesitated. He was starting to rethink buying the washing machine. The key issue was whether the elderly in Xinjia village would actually be able to use it, even if it was simple to operate. Would they find it cumbersome? Did they really think it was straightforward? Now, Chin Mo was considering all these factors carefully. To give back to the villagers, it needs to be appropriate. It shouldn't be a spur-of-the-moment decision. Even if they buy it, they may not use it. In winter, that's fine, but what if it's summer? They would definitely stop using it. They might even complain about the electricity bill. To save on electricity, they would surely go back to washing by hand. There's even a person who uses laundry detergent to wash their hair and is reluctant to buy shampoo. Do they really want to spend on electricity? Upon reflection, Chin Mo couldn't help but shake his head. How can you expect someone who uses laundry detergent for their hair to indulge in luxuries? However, to be fair, this is the kind of people in Chin family village. At Chin Mo's banquet, they gave him several thousand yuan as a gift. It was this group of people who pulled together 200,000 yuan and handed it to Chin Mo. Buying washing machines was not an option. But the issue of washing clothes still needed to be resolved. Suddenly, Chin Mo had an idea. Having one washing machine per household wouldn't be useful. If someone could help wash the clothes, without them having to do it themselves, just get their clothes washed for them, and they can wear them clean, right? The more Chin Mo thought about it, the more he felt that if he did it this way, it might actually work. But who would help wash? Hire someone, and buy a few more washing machines. Set up a laundry room where the villagers could bring their clothes to be washed. At that moment, Chin Mo couldn't help but smile. This operation seemed much simpler. As for hiring someone and paying wages, in the countryside, many people would be willing to work for 3,000 yuan a month. Besides, washing clothes isn't a complicated task. Would he really have trouble finding someone? There were plenty of idle women from nearby villages who could do this. As for the wages, it was nothing for Chin Mo. Even if he carried water for the villagers, he would earn it back. The more he thought about it, the better it seemed. So at that moment, Chin Mo turned to the appliance seller and asked, "Do you have washing machines suitable for a laundry room?" The seller was taken aback by Chin Mo's question and then replied, "The large ones?" For laundromats or hotels, the kind that can handle dozens of kilograms? Yes. We don't have stock on hand, but we can get them. But who would use such a large machine for home use? Are you sure you want it? I'm planning to open a laundry room. In no time, Chin Mo and the appliance seller were discussing details. Before long, they finalized the order. Chin Mo directly ordered 2 of these large washing machines, along with a dryer, spending around 20,000 yuan. The seller even offered to provide ironing racks and assist with connecting water pipes and drainage. The delivery would take 3 days. Once the goods arrived, they would be delivered right to his doorstep. Chin Mo just needed to find a place to set them up. By the time he left the appliance store, his original plan to buy washing machines had turned into a plan for a laundry room. Having sorted all this out, Chin Mo hurried back to Chin Family Village. He needed to find a place to set up the laundry room. His own home wouldn't work for it, but fortunately, there was a water and electricity station at the entrance of Chin Family Village that was no longer in use. The pump inside has long been removed, and the house has been vacant all along. Chin Mo has set his sights on these 2 rooms. He plans to go back and talk to Chin Fugui about using them. Additionally, Chin Mo also visited Qianwang Village, which is not far from Chin Family Village. He is familiar with the village chief of Qianwang Village and directly approached him. Uncle, there's nothing much going on, just like this. You know the situation in our village. Everyone is getting older, and it's not easy to do anything. In winter, even washing hands is freezing. I plan to set up a laundry in Chin Family Village and find someone to help with the laundry. The monthly salary is 3,500. And they won't do anything else. Can you help me find a woman who is usually at home to take on this job? It's a good opportunity. Moreover, 3,500 is a decent salary. Who wouldn't want to earn that money right at their doorstep? The village chief of Wangjia Village didn't look for anyone else. He directly included his own wife. A woman in her 50s is just right for this job. It's enviable that Chin Family Village has a child like you. And look at your aunt. She is quite capable. She manages everything at home very well. Chin Mo had no objections to who would take on the job, as long as they weren't lazy. In no time, he made a decision. When he returned to Chin Family Village and mentioned to Chin Fugui that he wanted to use the 2 rooms for the laundry, Chin Fugui didn't even ask any questions and agreed right away. At that moment, Chin Mo's laundry plan was set. He just needed to wait for the water and electricity to be connected and for the appliance dealer to deliver the washing machine. The water and electricity were set up the very next day. Hiring someone for this kind of work is quite convenient. Seeing Chin Mo busying about, the villagers of Chin Family Village were curious. What is Xiao Mo doing? Connecting water and electricity? Faced with their curiosity, Chin Mo just smiled and didn't say a word. The villagers' curiosity was piqued, and they couldn't help but ask Chin Mo several times about what he was doing. However, no matter how they asked, Chin Mo just laughed it off and avoided revealing the details. After their conversation, the old villagers realized, hey, what was Xiao Mo doing just now? Did he mention it? They were confused, not knowing what to make of it. Chin Mo knew better. It was a joke. If he revealed it, would the laundry still be successful? Instead of explaining everything to the old villagers now, it was better to wait until everything was prepared and ready. By then, even if they were reluctant, there would be nothing they could do. In summary, this is all experience. The laundry was set up quite quickly, and it didn't take long at all. The appliance seller delivered the washing machines, along with a dryer. The previously abandoned electric station was suddenly filled to the brim. They might have really made some money from the washing machines. Besides providing an ironing board, the seller also prepared some drying racks, allowing clothes to be hung up right after ironing for easier retrieval. Once the washing machines and other equipment were set up, they would connect the water and electricity. Aunt Wang couldn't wait to come to work, familiarizing herself with the use of these washing machines. Such large machines. This is great. And there's a dryer too? Aunt Wang marveled at these items. Not only can you wash clothes, but you can even wash bed sheets. After saying that, Aunt Wang looked at Chin Mo a bit shyly and asked, Boss, can I bring my dirty clothes from home to wash too? Don't worry. I'll only use it when I need to wash clothes. The washing machine won't be used solely for that. Aunt Wang was quite straightforward. If it were someone else, they probably wouldn't even ask and would just do it. But Aunt Wang still sought Chin Mo's opinion. Hearing her words, Chin Mo smiled and replied, What's the big deal? If you have clothes, just bring them over to wash. It's not a big hassle. Aunt Wang was delighted when Chin Mo agreed. Just as Chin Mo was about to leave the laundry room, he suddenly remembered something and turned to Aunt Wang. By the way, Aunt Wang, I didn't consult the elderly in our village before setting up this laundry room. I just thought it would be inconvenient for them to wash clothes. Chin Mo had only spoken halfway when Aunt Wang exclaimed, I know that. Boss, you have a good heart. You've considered everything. Hearing this, Chin Mo smiled and continued. Even though the laundry is all set up, if they find out, they might not be happy about it. Just tell them I've been paying you for 2 years. If they don't let you do it, then that money cannot be refunded. Aunt Wang was taken aback by Chin Mo's words, but soon understood what he meant. She laughed and said, Haha, don't worry. I know what to do. Excitedly, Aunt Wang added, Should I go to the village now to collect clothes? If anyone has clothes to wash, I'll bring them over. Ah, you're working hard, Aunt Wang. Qin Emo replied. I'm getting paid for this. There's no need to be so polite. Aunt Wang smiled and shook her head, turning to leave the laundry room. Outside the laundry room, a group of elderly people were chatting. They were still unclear about what Qin Emo had done. After stepping out, Aunt Wang asked Qin Emo, "Are these all the elderly from your village?" Qin Emo nodded. Seeing this, Aunt Wang cheerfully approached the elderly and said, "Whoever has clothes to wash, hurry and bring them over. It's about time to wash the clothes you're wearing too. Change into something else." As soon as Aunt Wang opened her mouth, the elderly people in front of her were taken aback. What? A laundry? What laundry? Confusion was written all over their faces. Seeing this, Aunt Wang laughed and said, "The young people in your village are quite capable. They see that you are getting older and it's inconvenient for you to wash clothes. So they set up a laundry just for you. They hired me to wash your clothes. It's equipped with a new washing machine and a dryer. Not even dry cleaning shops have so much equipment." In just a few words, Aunt Wang started chatting with the group of elderly people. Observing this scene, Qin Emo quietly slipped away. He probably already knew what was about to happen. It was better to leave quickly to keep his ears from getting too heavy. Sure enough, the news spread. What? A laundry? Little Mo turned this electric station into a laundry? Oh my goodness. They hired you specifically to wash our clothes. No wonder they were connecting water and electricity. But why is there suddenly a laundry? In an instant, the news that Qin Mo had turned the place into a laundry spread throughout the village. The elderly people of Qin Family Village were first stunned, then began to feel distressed. How much is this going to cost? How can we hire someone? How much do we have to pay them each month? Can't we just wash our clothes ourselves? Qin Mo indeed left early. However, shortly after, a group of elderly people appeared at his doorstep, looking as if they were ready to confront him. Even Qin Huai and Qin Fugua were among them. Little Mo, what is going on with that laundry of yours? Qin Fugua asked anxiously. Realizing he couldn't avoid this, Qin Mo smiled and replied, Aunt Wang already told you. It's a laundry for your convenience. No. I mean, why did you set up a laundry? Qin Mo explained, I initially wanted to buy you a washing machine, but modern machines are complicated to operate. You're all getting older, so it's inconvenient. Later, I thought it would be easier to set up a laundry. This child, how much is this going to cost? It didn't cost much, it's not expensive. Qin Fugua glanced at Aunt Wang, feeling embarrassed to say more. Qin Mo understood his concern, but before he could speak, Aunt Wang quickly chimed in. The boss has already paid me 2 years' salary. I've already spent the money. If you don't let me work, that money won't be refunded. As soon as Aunt Wang said this, there was another wave of commotion among the elderly people. Chapter 30. No more spending a penny. What Qin Mo did completely caught the elders of Qin Family Village off guard. They couldn't keep up with the pace. In the blink of an eye, a laundry was set up, and before they could react, the staff was already hired. They haven't even started talking yet. Or maybe they're just embarrassed to say it in person. As a result, the salary has been paid for 2 years? This has left the elderly folks completely baffled. Even Qin Fugua couldn't react in time. An old man muttered but hadn't managed to say a complete sentence. Qin Mo understood the situation and said, the washing machine can't be returned. It's all custom-made. Once bought, it can't be returned. Well, the old man was cut off before he could finish his muttering. His face turned pale. Aunt Wang added fuel to the fire, saying, the salary really can't be refunded. You can't expect to take back the money that has come into my hands. In that moment, Qin Huai stared wide-eyed and criticized Qin Mo, you child. I told you not to spend money recklessly. Besides Qin Huai, the elderly folks nearby all sighed in unison. There's no need for this. It's just for washing clothes. For older people, who doesn't wear clothes for many days. Do we really need someone to wash them for us? Xiaoma, why do you have to spend money carelessly? To be fair, the elders of Qin Village had learned from previous experiences and were wary of Qin Mo, fearing he might spend money on them again. But it was hard to guard against this. The money spent on the laundry service truly caught them off guard. Seeing the elders' condemnation, Qin Mo smiled and said, it's cold. And it's inconvenient. I saw Fourth Master washing clothes, and his hands were turning red from the cold. Before Qin Mo could finish, Qin Wenjuan couldn't hold back any longer. Recalling the time Qin Mo saw him washing clothes, he lamented, what was I thinking? Why was I washing clothes? Even if I did, why did I let you see it? Qin Wenjuan spoke quickly, leaving Qin Mo both amused and speechless. The elderly folks who initially planned to criticize Qin Wenjuan fell silent. Just then, Aunt Wang said with a smile, you should be grateful. Your young man from Qin Village is capable and talented. You should be happy. In our village, those who have a bit of success don't even come back home. Who cares about you? In this day and age, finding a young man like him is rare. He has the ability and the heart to make things easier for you. Why are you still criticizing him? Aunt Wang's words were fair. But as soon as she said that, the elderly folks began to speak up. It's not that we're criticizing him. Xiaoma isn't even married yet. He has the ability to earn money now, but when he gets married, he will still have to spend money, right? We're all nearing the end of our lives. Isn't it wasteful to spend this money on us? Isn't that the truth? Listening to their back and forth, Chin Imo just smiled without speaking. He knew that the elders of Chin village were doing this for him. If it were someone else, who wouldn't want to take advantage? After a sigh, Chin Fugwa turned to Chin Imo and said, Xiaoma, come with me. Okay. Chin Fugwa pulled Chin Imo aside. There's really no need for the laundry room, he complained. Chin Imo smiled and replied, Uncle, it's too late to say that now. Besides, look at the older folks like second aunt and third uncle. I just wanted to make things easier for them. Hearing this, Chin Fugwa fell silent for a moment, then looked at Chin Imo and asked, Tell me the truth. Little Imo, do you still have a lot of money? Chin Imo understood that Chin Fugwa didn't ask this out of greed, so he confidently responded, Yes, a lot. I have over 1 million in my account now, and I earn a ton every day. Just the other day, I made tens of thousands in a single day. I can't even spend it all. Chin Fugwa was taken aback. Is there really money that can't be spent? After a brief silence, he snapped back to reality and said with a hint of annoyance, Are you not planning to get married? How can you have money that you can't spend? You need to think about yourself too. While you're still making money, shouldn't you build a house or buy an apartment to feel more secure? Seeing Chin Fugwa say this, Chin Imo chuckled. Oh right. I almost forgot to mention. Uncle Fugwa, when I went to pick up my car, I also bought a house. The property deed is at home. It's a villa, and I spent over 10 million on it. The villa was a reward from the system. And Chin Imo wasn't sure about its exact value, but he knew it wasn't cheap. After saying this, Chin Imo turned to Chin Fugwa. Wait, I'll show it to you. In no time, he retrieved the property deed and handed it to Chin Fugwa. He also called out to the elders of Chin family village. I forgot to tell you all, I bought a house in Donyang. It's a villa, so don't worry about me. Was Chin Imo showing off by taking out the property deed? Certainly not. The elders had been worried about him not buying a house, not getting married, and not having a girlfriend, wondering how much a wedding would cost. Now that he presented the property deed, the reaction was immediate. What? Little Imo bought a house. When did he buy it? Chin Fugwa looked at the deed in disbelief. He bought it when he went to pick up the car? My goodness. Once Chin Fugwa said this, the surrounding elders chimed in. What is a villa? How much did it cost? Oh, Little Imo has a house now. Good. Now I can rest easy. The elders didn't understand much about villas or the specifics, but they knew that Chin Imo had a house. Their earlier scolding turned into smiles in an instant. Aunt Wang, who was a bit younger and more knowledgeable, exclaimed, Oh, a villa? In Donyang. How much could that cost? Good heavens. Look at this. Everyone in Chin family village is envious. This is quite an achievement. Seeing Aunt Wang's astonished expression, the elders of Chinjia village couldn't help but feel happy. It was as if a weight had been lifted off their hearts. They realized they couldn't spend recklessly anymore. There were renovations to consider. Isn't the villa quite large? Renovations won't come cheap. Little Imo. The old folks hadn't finished their words when Chin Imo interjected. This house is already renovated. I won't need to spend a dime more. Chapter 31. Fixed rewards from the system. Chin Imo had yet to see the villa awarded by the system. He really didn't know if it was renovated or what it looked like. But at this moment, it was enough to handle the group of elders. After all, he was just talking nonsense. For a moment, the elders were left speechless. Didn't he say he hadn't bought a car yet? Now he had a car. Didn't he say he didn't have a house? Now he had a house. And it was a villa. What were they worried about? With a house and a car, what was the problem with getting a laundry room? As a result, the elders felt a mix of embarrassment and happiness listening to Chin Imo. Good. Having a house is great. Little Imo bought a house. So there is nothing to worry about now. Wonderful. Now he has both a car and a house. It's just that this kid didn't mention such a big thing as buying a house. Seeing the elders so happy, Chin Imo seized the moment to continue. I have both a house and a car. I'm not short on money. Getting a laundry room is no big deal. Besides, not only will I have someone to wash your clothes, but mine will also be taken care of. How convenient. Aunt Wang, taking the opportunity after Chin Imo finished speaking, chimed in with a smile. Isn't that right? Living in a villa, such a big boss. I've heard that people living in villas usually have housekeepers who washes their own clothes. If the boss sets up a laundry room, I can help wash his clothes too. Hearing Chin Mo's words, the group of elders felt that compared to him buying a villa, a laundry room indeed didn't seem like much. But they still had their opinions. They muttered among themselves. Even if it's not much money, it's still money. This money needs to be saved. Upon hearing this, Chin Imo responded directly. Save. Auntie, what you said is incorrect. If this money could be saved, could I afford a villa? Besides, you're not even married yet. Chin Imo waved his hand. I've already bought a villa. How much could I possibly spend on a wedding? Do I care about that little money? In that moment, Chin Imo vividly displayed his extravagant attitude. No matter how you look at it, a laundry room was nothing to him. At this moment, Chin Fugwa spoke up. All right. Let us leave it at that. The laundry room is already set up. Besides, Little Imo is doing this for our benefit. We're all getting older. And having someone help with laundry is a good thing. Let it be. This child is kind-hearted. Why criticize him? When Qin Fu was said this, it marked a moment where the villagers of Qin Family Village accepted the idea of the laundry service. There were no further discussions. Of course, they accepted it. But they couldn't help adding a reminder. Make sure not to spend money recklessly in the future. Yes, the laundry service is fine, but Xiao Mo, you need to be frugal. Although you've bought a house and a car, and marriage will cost money too, you still have to consider future expenses for your children's education. Once the kids grow up, they will need to marry and buy houses as well. This group of elderly folks seemed worried that Qin Mo would spend money indiscriminately again, and at that moment, they started preparing for a potential ambush on him. It was amusing that they were already concerned about his future children when he didn't even have a wife yet. Alright, of course, while Qin Mo outwardly agreed to what the elders said, he knew deep down that this was just the beginning. Qin Mo had already planned to take care of all the living necessities for the villagers. After the elders happily accepted the laundry service, their minds began to race with ideas. Seeing Aunt Wang still nearby, one of them shyly said, "Aunt, I'll be counting on you in the future." "Oh, don't mention it," Aunt Wang replied with a smile. Noticing the hesitation among the elders, she quickly added, "Is there laundry that needs to be done? Hurry and bring it over. I've received my salary, and it would be awkward not to work." She continued, "Besides, the washing machine is new, and I've been wanting to try it out." Upon hearing this, the elderly folks hurriedly responded, Okay, we'll bring it over right away. You'll be working hard." Aunt Wang laughed. "I'll go with you to get it." No, just wait there, we'll bring it ourselves." Even though the laundry service was provided by someone hired by Qin Mo, the villagers still felt a bit shy about having someone else do their laundry. However, it must be said that the villagers indeed had a lot of laundry to do. Previously, they lacked the means and convenience, but now things were different. With help available, they naturally wanted to wash everything that needed cleaning, whether it was clothes they wore or bedding. Who doesn't like clean clothes? Wearing clean clothes is also comforting. As a result, the elderly folks busily started to gather their laundry. They were so eager that even from a distance, Qin Mo could hear their conversations. It's a good thing Xiao Mo bought a house. Otherwise, I wouldn't let him set up this laundry service. He bought a villa, so I feel much more at ease. Oh, I need to take my duvet cover off. I've wanted to wash it for a long time, but never had the means. Don't bring too much. What if Aunt Wang gets overwhelmed? Yes. Don't let anyone tire themselves out. If there's more to wash, they can bring it later. But I must say, Xiao Mo is really thoughtful. Isn't that right? In the laundry room, those with children can help tidy up, but we don't have children, so we can't do much. With this laundry room, we can also keep our clothes clean and won't embarrass Xiao Mo when we go out. A group of elderly people walked further away, listening to their conversation. Qin Mo couldn't help but smile. It was only after everyone had left that a notification sound echoed in Qin Mo's mind. Ding! The host has built a laundry room for the villagers, facilitating their basic lives. Reward, daily cash of 20,000. Reward, 8 Extremes Fist. Startled by the system's notification, Qin Mo was taken aback. This reward was different from the previous ones. The earlier rewards were all one-time only, but this time, one of the rewards was fixed. This surprised Qin Mo greatly. Chapter 32. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. A fixed reward, and it's 20,000 a day? This was something Qin Mo never expected. Moreover, was this fixed reward time sensitive? How long would it last? These were questions Qin Mo was eager to know. Fortunately, he quickly found out. According to the system's explanation, the fixed reward also had a time limit. The duration of the time limit was based on how long the laundry room operated. In other words, as long as the laundry room he built for Qinjia village was in use and existed, he could keep receiving this fixed reward. This got Qin Mo really excited. What does 20,000 a day mean? With this fixed reward, it meant that starting today, Qin Mo could earn 20,000 every day without doing anything. That is 600,000 in a month. Over a year, it would amount to over 7 million. Over 7 million in a year. It's impossible to spend all that money. At that moment, Qin Mo understood. Great. He wouldn't have to worry about money anymore. Of course, after binding with the system, he hadn't really worried before. But the difference was that without completing tasks, he couldn't get system rewards, which created a sense of urgency. Even a small cash reward would make him happy. But now, even if he did nothing for a day, he would still earn. Naturally, although the fixed reward was great, it didn't dampen Qin Mo's enthusiasm for giving back to the villagers. It just made him feel a bit more relaxed. Besides this fixed reward, Qin Mo didn't forget the other reward from the system, 8 Extremes Fist. Although the fixed reward was good, it still paled in comparison to the 8 Extremes Fist reward. After all, money can be earned, but that reward was something you couldn't buy with money. With the receipt of the reward, in that very moment, Qin Mo's mind was flooded with all the information about Bajiquan. It felt as if he had been immersed in it for many years. Bajiquan is a martial art, and it is particularly powerful. There is a saying, in literature, Tai Chi brings peace to the world. In martial arts, Bajiquan establishes order. This shows the strength of Bajiquan. In that moment, after receiving the reward, Qin Imo directly became an expert in Bajiquan. Before this, if he had fought with someone, it would have mostly been a chaotic flailing of fists. After all, that's how ordinary people fight. But now, without a doubt, ordinary individuals seemed insignificant in Qin Mo's eyes. He clearly understood how to take down a person in the shortest time possible, even with a single strike. This means that at that moment, Qin Imo had transformed from an ordinary person into a martial arts master. Moreover, this mastery was not just based on knowledge in his mind, but also included physical changes in his body. Certain parts of him felt as if they had been forged through countless trials. The boxing style felt like it had been developed through his own practice. Of course, the reward of Bajiquan made Qin Imo very happy. After all, a person had suddenly jumped to become a martial arts master. This was not only exciting, but also made him feel a bit eager to try it out. However, despite his happiness, Qin Imo still couldn't figure out the system's intentions in giving him a martial art as a reward. After all, what kind of society are we in now? No matter how impressive martial arts are, there's no place to use them. Would he really go and find someone to fight? Who would dare to make a move? If someone did, they might just fall to the ground. At that point, it would take a hefty sum to resolve things. It's good, but there's no place to apply it. Nevertheless, even with that in mind, Qin Imo was still very pleased. Even if it's not useful, it could still be a way to strengthen his body. Who knows? It might come in handy in the future. Even if it doesn't, he could still show off a bit. Naturally, the reward of Bajiquan also indirectly demonstrated the randomness of the system's rewards. It was completely random, without any basis. The possibility of receiving any kind of reward existed. Moreover, it also made Qin Imo aware of the infinite possibilities of system rewards. If Bajiquan is included, who knows what else might be out there? This made Qin Imo even more enthusiastic about giving back to his fellow villagers. In a flash, Qin Imo demonstrated Bajiquan in his yard. To his surprise, it felt exhilarating and immensely satisfying. After breaking a sweat, Qin Imo's mind started to race with thoughts again. The issue of the villagers needing to do laundry was resolved. However, there were still other problems that hadn't been addressed. When Qin Imo was buying a washing machine, he remembered something. The elders in Qinjia village not only had to wash clothes by hand, but also had to use cold water. In the middle of winter, using hot water was a challenge as well. What era is this? How many still have to boil water in a large pot? Compared to people from other villages, people have built houses, and every household has a water heater, at least a solar one. They can use hot water anytime and anywhere. But what about Qin family village? It lacks everything. When purchasing a washing machine, Qin Imo considered whether he should also solve the hot water issue. The tap water has already been installed, so it would be good to address the hot water problem as well, allowing the villagers to have a comfortable winter. However, Qin Imo ultimately dismissed his own idea. The reason was simple. Qin family village has no gas supply, so the only option would be to install an electric water heater. And electric water heaters are not safe. What if something goes wrong? To ensure safety, the water heater needs to be powered off during use, which is quite challenging for the elderly villagers. Installing one would be useless. Solar water heaters are safer, but they need to be placed higher up. Yet, Qin family village doesn't even have a multi-story building. Besides that, even if there were a water heater, there must be a bathroom, right? The houses in Qin family village are all old. Where would a bathroom come from? Not only that, but even the toilets are old-style pit latrines that are foul-smelling. After thinking it over, Qin Imo suddenly had an idea. If washing clothes can be centralized, why not centralize the installation of a water heater and build a bathing facility? This thought brightened Qin Mo's outlook. If there were a bathing facility, the villagers could not only access hot water anytime, but it would also make washing up much more convenient. Furthermore, if the house were a bit larger, they could add a dining hall. This way, the villagers wouldn't even have to cook. For the elderly, cooking is already quite inconvenient. I remember there are also ready-made bathrooms. They could even set up a public restroom. This would solve the toilet issue as well. At that moment, Qin Imo became increasingly excited. Chapter 33. Time to give myself a thumbs up. This line of thinking was not just scattered. Once it started to flow, Qin Imo felt he couldn't stop. He even thought of a public restroom. But then, he realized that if they could set up a dining hall, why would they even need a bathing facility? No. If they put it all together, wouldn't it just be a nursing home? Isn't that the case? Creating these facilities would be better than building separate restrooms or dining halls. This would provide both living and dining spaces. They could even hire a few people to help take care of things. Isn't this much better than just setting up a restroom or a dining hall? However, as he pondered, Qin Imo felt something wasn't right. Building a nursing home would still take time. Maybe it would be better to simply acquire an existing nursing home instead. Then directly send the elderly from Qin family village to a nursing home. Isn't that the same concept? This way of thinking really can't be too divergent. Once it diverges, Qin Imo couldn't help but shake his head. Sending the elderly from Qin family village to a nursing home? What a joke. With him, Chinamo around, how could the elderly from Chin Family Village end up in a nursing home? Don't be ridiculous. Moreover, even if you insisted on sending them, they would never agree to it. For them, Chin Family Village is home, with houses and land. The elderly from Chin Family Village plan to be buried here when they die. You want to send them to a nursing home? After summarizing, Chin Mo realized that his previous thoughts were somewhat unreliable. He subconsciously viewed all the people from Chin Family Village as one